Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It's after your 9 a.m. Sandstorm. Picking me up brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. And as Jack just mentioned, they're the latest College Ball Playoff Top 25 coming out last night. Carolina, previously number 21, clocks in at number 18, essentially just jumping the three teams ahead of them in Washington State, Louisville, and then Kansas State that all lost this past weekend. So that's essentially why South Carolina moved up. We had this conversation a little bit yesterday in terms of Carolina's playoff rankings. Or first of all, is 18 fair? Do you think 18 is a fair assessment for where Carolina is as a program right now?
Yeah, because I would have put them about 17, so one spot lower. Yeah, that's fine. I've seen people saying it's outrageous and stuff, and that Colorado shouldn't be ahead of them and all that. But you know what? I think 18 is a good spot. And look, I'm going to go out and just say it. I think that you're only, 6 spots away from being in the top 12. I know, hypothetically, you're actually not because the top 10 really made it, and then the two other teams. But you know what? 18 feels about right, and it's doable, I think, to get to inside at least the 12.
I think 18 is fair. You were the highest-ranked 3-loss team as of right now. Missouri's at 23, which we'll get to in a minute, and then Illinois is at 25. So you're the highest-ranked by a pretty sizable margin of the 3-loss teams. You're playing some of the best football right now. I think 18 is pretty fair. However, we talked about this yesterday, in terms of my hope or belief that they could still make the college ball playoff, a lot of that went out the window last night with them being 18. Because outside of mass chaos, you said it a second ago, the top 10 are in right now. Tennessee is the first team on the outside looking in because of Boise State and BYU being the assumed respective conference champions for the Mountain West and the Big 12 would jump in because of the automatic bids there. I don't see any world where Carolina can jump 8 spots in 2 weeks, with one of those weeks being an FCS opponent that's not going to move the needle at all, outside of just mass chaos where Ole Miss loses to Florida, Georgia loses to UMass, let's see, A&M loses to Auburn, SMU loses to Virginia. You're going to need 6 crazy things to happen, or 7 or 8 really, in the next 2 weeks to make that happen. A lot of my belief of Carolina making the playoff went out the window last night with them being 18.
Well, look, it's not impossible. And if there's any...
it's not. And this year's been crazy.
Yeah. So if there's any season where all these things you just said can happen, it is this season. Look, Auburn stinks. But you know what? Going to Jordan-Hare is much tougher than any... Did anyone think that Alabama was nearly going to lose to Auburn 2 years ago or whatever it was on that 4th and 31? Like, it's stuff like that where it's like, okay, these things can happen to where Auburn can beat Texas A&M. Indiana, I have a high belief, is going to get smacked this weekend and will probably drop out of the top 12 as a result. And then, you never know with these other teams. Again, anything can happen to where any team can lose at any point in the season. And, I don't rule it out that they can't make it. It is it does seem like a lot to jump, 6, 7 spots. But again, I do think that, all bets are not off exactly yet.
You do have the benefit, again, assuming Carolina and Clemson can get past Wofford and Citadel respectively this weekend, which should not be a problem. You do have the benefit of playing a higher-ranked team than you in Clemson, who is 1 spot ahead of you as they were in last week's poll, to help you a little bit there. But if everything else is chalk for the most part of these next couple weeks, and Colorado beats Kansas, which that's not a given. Kansas did beat BYU this past weekend, but we know the Big 12 is going to get one team in regardless. So no matter where you sit on the playoff rankings, the Big 12 champion can always jump you if they're behind you. Same thing with the Mountain West with Boise State currently sitting at number 12. So again, you really going to be shooting for 10th if you want to get in, assuming those other 2 spots are going to go to teams that are outside of the top 12. And again, I just don't think there's enough here to give you, outside of just mass chaos happening in the next 2 weeks, enough of a push to jump in there. But what I will say, and again, this is a silver lining thing, I think getting in the top 15 is very easy.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you can definitely jump some of these teams ahead of you. Like, you'll jump Clemson if you beat them.
Yes.
I think you jump Colorado at some point. And then A&M. A&M, if they lose to Texas, you jump them. So you can get into the top 15. And then look, BYU, if they lose their conference championship, they're moving down. If SMU loses the conference championship, they're moving down. So hypothetically, South Carolina could definitely get up as high as 13 potentially.
Yeah, hypothetically speaking, I think you could make an appearance on the Selection Sunday graphic of like the first teams out.
Yeah,
at like,
I agree.
13, 14, 15, whatever it may be. So you're in consideration for the playoff, but not getting in is the way that I view it if things go the way that we hope it goes for Carolina these next couple weeks. And again, I'm not trying to be silver linings here, but when I think about like the recruiting pitch you can give off of that, because again, you've already had high caliber wins this year, crazy environments, all that kind of stuff these guys have been here to see. But if I can look at a 18-year-old 4 or 5-star kid and say, man, if we had you out there, we'd be in the playoff right now.
Exactly.
That's a good pitch. You know what I mean? Especially as we approach early signing day. And again, I'm not trying to be silver linings or look on the bright side kind of thing, but you have the chance to be a top 15 team if you can win these last 2 games of the regular season and everything else, the chips fall where they may have teams around you losing. And that's not for nothing. Again, it's not getting in the playoff, but still being a top 15 team as a 3-loss, that's worth something to me still.
Look, I know people are going to be pissed that this team doesn't make the playoff, and they're going to be like, oh, the LSU game and all that stuff. However, did anyone in their right mind think, oh, South Carolina might go to the playoff, South Carolina might go to the playoff after a 5-win season last year? I was just hoping they'd get back to a bowl game. So you know what? Look, it's not ideal that they might not make the playoff. Who's to say they will? But you know what? It's still a great season regardless, and it's a right step in what should hopefully be, if things continue to trend the way they are, in a long journey.
And you are in a position possibly to be the first SEC team out. Again, not great being out, but I think about Citrus Bowl. Again, if Tennessee can get in the playoff, which right now they're the first team on the outside looking in, they dropped all the way to the 11th spot after losing to Georgia. If Tennessee can slide in, then, I mean, the Citrus Bowl is essentially going to go to the first.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some more chaos over these next few weeks. And I don't know. I mean, look, South Carolina, all they need to do is just win these next 2 games. They should beat Wofford this weekend. You go into Clemson, and I'll be interested to see how much of an impact the Clemson game has on things. Like, if they lose by, like, let's see, like less than a touchdown, how much do they drop? But if they win by a touchdown or more, let's say they win by 2 scores, and it's convincing enough, like, what does that do for them? Because that ultimately, I think, is going to end up being a top 15 win when all things are said and done after this week. But we'll have to see what happens. But look, South Carolina, I know you don't think they're in a great spot in terms of making the playoff, but like, again, with how crazy this season's been, I refuse to believe it's completely the conversation's completely over.
Sure, and that's a fair point. And again, with how crazy this year's been, anything can unfold in these next 2 weeks that could help Carolina out. And I certainly hope it would. I mean, God, from the standpoint of what our jobs are, if Carolina is in the college football playoff, that'd
be awesome. That is
fantastic. And we have huge, meaningful games to talk about the weekend before Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, I would love that. That'd be fantastic. I just, their chances in the playoff predictor already dropped a little bit this week anyway, and jumping 8 spots, that's a lot to ask for
it is
2 weeks, especially when you have a opponent that's not going to move the needle this weekend in Wofford.
Yeah, but you know what? We'll see what happens. I just wonder if the committee is willing to set a new precedent right away that, hey, if it, isn't the job to get the 12 best teams?
Here we go again.
I know, man.
12
I know. All right.
best.
Excuse me.
Most deserving.
Eight best teams because the conference champions, which that's a whole nother thing that we need to figure. I think this whole system's going to change rather soon.
A lot of what the committee does not make sense, including some of the things that happened last night, which we'll dive into coming up next, because consistently inconsistent is what I'll say about the committee.
Yes, bingo.
And it reared its ugly head once again and sets up some interesting hypotheticals for what could happen over these next couple weeks, including conference championship games.
We all love streaking. I mean, streaming. Until we have to pay for it. But not when you stream the game.
And how much does it cost? It's free.
Just go to Together Let's Drive.
Hey, I want to tell you about our show sponsor, PL Wine Pool and Spa. They're an award-winning swimming pool builder that's been in the business for 25 years with more than 40 years of pool construction experience. They service the entire Midlands area, whether you're looking for weekly cleaning maintenance or chlorine to salt conversion, with services like safety cover installs and safety fence installs. You can check out all their offerings at the showroom in Lexington and talk to their experts about any and everything you might need. Heck, I mean, I live in an apartment right now, and we got a pool there, but, someday I want my own house, and you know what? I want my own pool, and when I make that decision, I'm going to PL Wine Pool and Spa, and you guys should too. So you can check out their retail store, which is located at 5541 Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. Again, that is 5541 Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. You can also check them out online at plwinepools.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
Firehouse Subs, Hook and Ladder jingle, take one.
Hook and ladder, when it's hot, it just tastes better. Warm that smoky turkey, that thin slice.
Guys, this is a 30-second ad. You gotta sing faster.
Hook and ladder, when it's hot, it just
Faster.
tastes better. Melty cheese and toast spread, mustard, mayo, purple spread, lettuce, green, and onion. The sandwich is too big for the song. It's too big.
The Hook and Ladder, available only at participating Firehouse Subs restaurants.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest for an entire year. You heard that right. Purchase a new system now and make no payments for a full 12 months. So do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air for your free estimate and tell them Jay Phillips sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference could easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Daddy, you need a trust.
The Gamecock Go Pass is back. For only $20 a month, you'll receive access to all non-conference football games, most men's and women's basketball and baseball games, and all softball, soccer, and volleyball games. To learn more about the Gamecock Go Pass, visit thegamecockclub.com/go.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, with a lot chock full of brand new award-winning Chevys. And just in time for the season. I-26 in Harbison and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence. The Extra Point with your hosts, Tyler Head and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central.
Sponsored by Pete Ale Wine, Pool and Spa.
On the Game Network. And don't forget to download the 107.5 The Game app.
I think watching games and watching the teams play carries the day for most of us. We look at the data, we look at the stats. We see how other people compare and strength of schedules and all of those things. But we also have to watch the games and see how teams are performing in all facets of the game. And that really lends itself in the discussion of how people see the teams perform. And it's a lot of debate, a lot of discussion. People see different ways. But that's the value, as you say, of having 13 members of this committee in the discussion that goes on.
Probably if I turn my microphone back on. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Sourhead and Jack Belcher along with you on your Wednesday morning here on the game. That was the voice of Ward Manuel, the athletic director at Michigan and the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee for 2024 on last night's Rankings Reveal show, as they do each and every week. They take the committee chair, ask them questions about the latest rankings, why they did this and why they did that. And as you heard in that answer there, we've been doing this for 10 years, Jack. Has the committee chair, because it changes like every single year or every couple years, has the committee chair ever actually given us a real answer on anything? Or are they just waffling a bunch of words out there to string together a 30-second answer to get to the next question?
They are, and that's why we need a computer, man. Like, this is absolutely just, it's just blasphemy, you know, hearing some of the answers they give, and it drives you nuts when they're not just straight up about things. But, you know, I get it. It's part of their job. Again, it goes back to the whole media training thing.
So I've held the belief for a long time during the 4-team playoff era that once you got past 8, typically, they didn't really care what they did with the rankings because they were pretty inconsequential past that. Because if you were 17th with 2 weeks left in the regular season, you're not going to make the 14 playoff. Like, yeah, I think they meticulously detailed like 1 through 8. And then after that, it's like, let's just kind of throw it out there or whatever. Why didn't they move? Missouri's 23rd at 7-3 after losing to Carolina. I get it. 4-point loss, last, minute drive for Carolina. But to not move at all seems like they're just like, hey, we'll keep them there, whatever.
That's exactly why, though, because they lost by 4 points. I'm assuming that's why. I mean, look, it was a game that came down to the wire. Should they move back? Yes, I think so. But I mean, are you going to put Illinois and UNLV ahead of them? I mean, I don't know. That's the question.
Yeah, but it's like, where is Missouri's signature win this year? Like what have they done to warrant being in the top 12?
Excuse me. They beat
top 25.
They beat Vanderbilt in double overtime.
All right, fine. See, and this gets to a bigger point for me. I feel like with the committee, the losses don't really matter a lot. Or namely, losses that happened earlier in the season don't matter as much because we have so many contradictions within the top 25 of teams that have head-to-heads, and the quality of the head-to-head loss does not matter as much as who you lost to, if that makes sense. So I look at Alabama at number 7 with the exact same record as Tennessee, the team that beat them being 4 spots ahead of them at number 11. SMU lost to BYU. SMU is a spot ahead of BYU. Like, at some point, the head-to-head has to matter, right? Like, this is where it gets really convoluted a little bit, saying, well, does what they did on the field actually matter or not here? And I get it. Last week, South Carolina was ranked above LSU, so I'm not complaining about that necessarily, but it does kind of bring a question up of, like, does the head-to-head matter if you're just going to rank the team that lost ahead of the team that won anyway?
Exactly. And that's the thing, man. It's just these rankings are just I don't understand some of their criteria at all. And this is why, look, I didn't always agree with the BCS format and stuff. But, looking back on it now, it's like I think you need to take the bias out of it. And obviously a computer is going to tell you, like, they're going to spit out the straight facts. And the fact that you have, look, you said Ward Manuel is from Michigan. Yep. So there's an automatic bias there. It's not a surprise why you see, four of the top 5 teams are from the Big Ten. Like, some of it's justified, obviously, but it's like, you see what I'm getting at here? It's just, I think there just needs to be some sort of change. I think you go back to a computer system.
One thing that I got confirmation of last night, which I believe to be true anyway, was that the ACC and the Big 12 are only getting one team in. And in a weird way, where their teams are ranked right now does not matter at all. Miami is number 8. SMU is number 13. They are on a collision course to play in the ACC championship game in a couple weeks. And it really doesn't matter where they're ranked because only one of those teams is getting in. If SMU beats Miami, in my opinion, is going to drop out of the top 10, top 12 to where SMU is the only ACC team in. And then there is no Big 12 team in the top 12 as of right now, BYU being the highest at number 14, where if they were to win, they'd get the automatic spot and jump teams ahead of them because of that automatic bid. But the Big 12 is only getting one team in, as is the ACC, which, hallelujah, great for the SEC and great for the Big 10. But here it goes back to where losses aren't mattering as much as they should. Notre Dame's still number 6. Notre Dame lost to a 6-5 NIU team back in September. It's very clear they're not holding that against them.
No,
and
they're not.
How convenient is it that Army jumped all the way up to number 19 the week before playing Notre Dame?
Again, that is, if Notre Dame wins this weekend, it's like they're in.
You beat a top 20 team.
Yeah,
congratulations.
They're getting in. Like even if they have 2 losses, man, they're getting in. Like that's, I hate it because it's like you're rewarding a team that doesn't play in a conference. Which again, this isn't the 1930s anymore. It's time to move into a conference, man. That's a whole nother discussion that we can have at some point during this offseason or whatever. But you know what, man? It's ridiculous. It's like they lost to Northern Illinois.
They did.
Like, can you name one player that currently plays for Northern Illinois?
Jordan Lynch ain't there anymore.
Yeah, Rocky Lombardi ain't there anymore. So you know what, man? It's like, it's just so dumb. And you know what? If they beat Army this weekend, it's on a neutral field. It's at Yankee Stadium. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. And I don't know.
So we know we're in this trial period, right, with the 12-team playoff where it's only guaranteed this year and next, and they're probably going to blow it up and start all over with 14 or 16 teams come 2026 and beyond. And initially, when the 12-team playoff was announced, and it was like, okay, if you want a top 4 seed, you got to be in a conference because you can't be a top 4 seed without a conference champion, which, again, negates Notre Dame's ability to ever get a first-round bye in this system because of, that precedent alone. But we go back to the conversation about the lower value on conference championship games, and Lane Kiffin said it, and Kirby Smart, and Georgia are in prime position to miss Atlanta, get a bye, and still be in a good shape going into the first round. Notre Dame's same way. Notre Dame cannot get a first round bye, but they never have to worry about a conference championship game. So right now they're sitting at number 6. If they beat Army this weekend and Southern Cal coming up next weekend to close out the regular season, they will be guaranteed a hosting spot in the first round and not have to worry about playing conference championship. They get their bye, they just get it before the fact instead of after the fact.
And here's the precedent that we're dangerously setting here. Conference championship games aren't going to matter pretty soon here because I heard even Lane Kiffin talking about how there's some SEC coaches that wouldn't want to play in the conference championship because why would you? If you only have one loss and you're at the end of the year, like in Notre Dame or a team like that, it's like, why would you even want to risk it? Why? Because here's the thing that's going to happen. Imagine in the SEC, it's Alabama versus Texas A&M in the conference championship game, and Texas A&M loses that game, and they have 3 losses. Are they making the playoff? I think the loser in the conference championship should make the playoff, but we're setting a precedent that we talk about South Carolina not making the playoff because they have 3 losses. A&M, if they make the playoff with 3 losses as the conference championship loser, I mean, what does that set?
I want to get to more of what Ward Manuel said because he actually, in a way, was asked this question last night on how they're going to view conference championship participants, and it continues the discussion of how valuable these games actually are in this new 12-team playoff era. It's coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler and Jack Belcher along with you on your Wednesday. Reminder today, Terry and I were trying to decide what to call this because when a baseball game gets played at 1 in the afternoon, it's called a businessman special. What do we call basketball at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Is that a skip your lunch and get off work early type of thing?
I would say so. An early dinner type thing. I don't know.
Women's basketball taking on Clemson tonight at 5 o'clock. Tip off. Pregame coverage starting at 4:30 right here on the game as the Palmetto series rolls on with women's basketball as Dawn Staley's crew looks to continue their undefeated start to the season. That's again today at 5 o'clock. Pregame coverage starting at 4:30 all right here on the game. More playoff discussion coming up next. What did Ward Manuel have to say about teams and conference championship games, or what did he not have to say, I guess is the better question. That's coming up next. Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack with you on your Wednesday on the game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
It's back! The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register. The pot starts at $100. Every week it increases $100 if Carolina doesn't score a special teams touchdown. But if the Gamecocks do score a special teams touchdown, you could win the pool. Again, just go to 1075thegame.com and register. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest from 1075 The Game.
Tyler Head once again reminding you about our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. As I'm looking out across Gervais Street, it's a little bit wet out there as we've finally gotten some rain returning after a relatively dry month of October. And if you have an open crawl space under your home and recently experienced a storm, you could have standing water under there, which presents a litany of problems with your home, as that high humidity and condensation can cause mold, mildew, and welcome things like pests, like termites. The moisture can also lead to wood rot and floor joist problems as well. And those smells and odors can really affect the health of you and your family with things like runny nose, itchy eyes, and coughs, because about half the air that you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialists come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconvicts.com. They'll evaluate your crawl space and foundation and get it fixed right so you and your family can live comfortably. Again, go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconvicts.com for our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist.
Self-care is so important, and the Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa's Black Friday BOGO gift card sale is the perfect way to treat yourself or a loved one to some well-deserved relaxation. Whether it's a massage, facial, or other spa treatment, taking time for self-care can truly make a difference in one's overall health and happiness. Purchase a gift card at guest pricing and receive a second gift card free. Don't miss this limited time offer. Discover relaxation at any of their 3 convenient locations across the Columbia area or handandstone.com to purchase online.
Offer valid at participating locations for only a limited time.
Hey, this is Brian Glenn, owner of Village Idiot Pizza. You know your favorite Columbia pizza shop is franchising? We're excited to welcome franchise operators to our team as we grow throughout the Southeast. Ever thought you'd like to see a Village Idiot in your community? I'm talking to you, Lexington, Irmo, Chapin, Blythewood. Village Idiot Pizza has been bringing people together for community and pizza in Columbia for over 30 years. If you know someone who's ready to join a proven system and be their own boss, join our village. For more info, visit villageidiotpizza.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Pete Ale Wine Pool and Spa is the place for all things swimming pool and hot tub. Need a new vinyl liner? This is the perfect time of year to have your faded or worn out liner replaced. Call or come see us to repair, replace, or upgrade your existing equipment. Want to cover your pool to keep out all those fall leaves? A new safety cover is the answer, and it's safe for the kids and pets. That's Pete Ale Wine Pool and Spa, 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You'll find us on Facebook or online at PeteAleWinePools.com.
The Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off ticket is back, giving you a chance to win up to $200,000 while supporting future Tigers. And level the playing field with a second chance promotion for another shot to win $50,000, $75,000, or $100,000. Let's show them what we're made of, Tigers. The South Carolina Education Lottery, supporting education for more than 20 years. Overall odds are 1 in 3.98. Top prize odds are 1 in 520,000. Second chance odds depend on number of entries received.
Langston Moore here with RoofingAllAmericans.com. There's a storm coming. No, not a sandstorm, but hurricane season, storm season, wind season. It seems like it's just like football season all year round. It's storm season all year round. And Roofing All Americans wants to block and tackle all the headaches that come with roof repair, roof maintenance, and just handling a roof and maintaining your home. With Roofing All Americans, it's been over 20 plus years that these guys have been in the construction and roofing business, and they want to take care of your toughest roofing and construction needs. Call them today at 803-250-1395 for a free, no obligation quotes. That's 803-250-1395 or Roofing All Americans, or check us out on the web at roofingallamericans.com. That's roofingallamericans.com.
Laying the Wood.
Sponsored by Georgia Pacific.
Georgia Pacific is now accepting applications. Entry-level and skilled positions available. Great growth potential.
Georgia Pacific.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler and Jack Felcher along with you on your Wednesday here on the game. Today's Laying the Wood, brought to you by our friends over at Georgia Pacific. A little bit different. Typically pull a defensive stat from a game or something like that. But, Jack, I have a feeling the committee might be laying the wood to losers of conference championship games if things go the way I think they might go, which I don't think they should. But let's hear what the Ward Manual had to say last night when posed the question of how they view losers of conference championship games or participants of conference championship games here in a couple weeks.
Well, we have a lot of value. You know, we're not going to speculate on what will happen, but we have a lot of value of with the teams that make a championship game. That says a lot. Playing 12 games in a season, making your championship game is a really valuable data point. Number one. Number two, we're going to evaluate the games and how teams play and the performance on the field. That's what the commissioners have asked us to do. They didn't ask us to stop right before the championship game. They asked us to rank the teams through the championship game. And I think you could see over the years how the committee has valued those championship games and who stays in and where they're ranked. But this year, we're not going to speculate. We're going to let the season play out. But I think teams who make that championship game, the committee looks at them and puts them in high esteem.
So what he did not say is, which I didn't expect him to, that we're not going to punish you for playing in your conference championship game. Well, we hold them in high esteem, which that can mean a whole litany of things, certainly. I go back several years, several different instances of this in the 14 playoff era, where it would have been in the SEC's best interest to just cancel the SEC championship game and get both teams in. This was when I was working in Athens. Georgia was in the top 4, taking on number 1 LSU. I think Georgia was 4th at that point in time. And we said leading up to that game, well, if Greg Sankey wanted to get 2 teams in, if he canceled the SEC championship game this weekend, they would undeniably have to put both Georgia and LSU in because they had both done enough in the regular season to warrant being in. Of course, LSU ends up dominating Georgia in that game. Georgia falls out of the top 4. I'm not saying they should have been in or shouldn't have been in. I'm just saying if they would have canceled the championship game, they would have both gotten in at that point in time. Last year, Georgia, as the number 1 team in the country,
I was about to say,
suffered by losing a 3-point conference championship game to Alabama. Alabama gets in as the SEC champion. Georgia ridiculously drops down to number 6, which we talked about that ad nauseum when it happened. I don't think, now at the same time, let's go back a couple years ago. On the other foot, TCU loses the conference championship game to Kansas State. TCU does not drop out of the top 4, still gets to go to the playoff, obviously makes the national championship game, and gets run over by Georgia in the process. So they've shown us both sides of the coin on this. They've showed punishing teams for being in the championship game, and they've showed not punishing teams for losing the championship game. I don't know which way they're going to go. Personally, and I've held this belief for a long time in the offseason, if you're a 1, 2, even a 3-loss SEC team making the extra 13th game, I don't think you should be punished for that.
No,
but
definitely not.
I feel like they're going to be. Let's use the example of Texas A&M, right? So let's say A&M beats Texas coming up next weekend. Great win over a top 3 team that is probably going to vault you into the top 10, if not, right at 10th, right? They would theoretically match up with Alabama in the championship game. Let's say Alabama wins that championship game and drops A&M to 3 losses. With that, they'd be 10-3 with a 3rd loss in the championship game. I think they'd be punished and drop out of the college ball playoff. That reward for beating a top 3 Texas team would go immediately out the window by losing to Alabama. I think they would punish them for playing that 13th game, as opposed to A&M saying, you know what, if we were to theoretically beat Texas and somehow miss the championship game by all the crazy math of the tiebreakers, stuff like that, we would benefit more from just sitting at like 10th and letting the chips fall where they may and getting in that way as opposed to playing 13th game.
And this is why I think conference championship games, unless something can be done about it, it doesn't matter. They don't matter because, look, it was proven last year with Georgia because they made the conference championship and they lost by 3 to Alabama. They didn't make it. And I think it's ridiculous that they didn't make it in a 14 playoff, and they would have made it in a 12-team for sure. But the fact that it was in a 4-team format is the issue. And now you're seeing the same thing again to where teams don't want to play in the conference championship game at all because it's going to hurt them. And, look, it's a whole mess. I think you have to find some sort of structure because, look, there needs to be an incentive for playing and winning your conference championship. And there is, but at the same time, it's like if you get all the way to that title game and you lose by like a field goal or something, you shouldn't be totally penalized for that. You shouldn't be knocked out of the playoff. But here's the thing, though. Like you said, if A&M beats Texas, that's a monumental win. That alone should get them into the playoff for sure. But because if they lose to Alabama or whoever it might be in Atlanta, it's like, oh, man, that's 3 losses. That's the new precedent that it was always 2-loss teams don't make the playoff until last year. But now it's this new era where it's like, will 3-loss teams even get into the playoff? Because obviously, probably not.
And here's the thing. Conference championship games are not going away. The SEC championship game alone has a contract with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta through 2031. And that is a huge moneymaker for the league, for the city of Atlanta, all those kind of things. That's not going to go away. And this is my issue with college football sometimes, is when we make changes that devalue certain things, we still try and fit those certain things in, whether they have value or not. Case in point, ideally, bowls shouldn't have anything to do with the 12-team playoff. You should, as the higher seed, get the opportunity to host lower seeds all the way up to the national championship, just like the NFL. If you're the Buffalo Bills and you're the number 1 seed in the AFC, as long as you keep winning, you're going to have home games all the way through playing the Super Bowl because that is your advantage as the higher seed, the number 1 overall seed, to play home games and give you a better shot at making the Super Bowl. The only advantage that a top seed has now is you get a first-round bye where you don't have to play a home or an away game in round number 1, and you get to wait in a neutral site bowl game at some NFL stadium for whatever team wins in the first round. But here's where things get funny, right? The structure of the bracket itself, too, is not made where the higher seed automatically gets the lowest remaining seed. So as it stands right now, Oregon would get the winner of the 8-9 game between Alabama and Notre Dame, based on yesterday's bracket. Whereas, Boise State, as the number 4, would be getting the winner of Ohio State and BYU. Let's say BYU pulls off a crazy upset. Boise State's getting a much easier game in round number 2 than Oregon is. And here's a little bit further, right? So they have these bowl tie-ins to the top 4 seeds getting buys, where the Big Ten champion will go to the Rose Bowl, the SEC champion will go to the Sugar Bowl, the ACC champion will go to the Peach Bowl.
Oh, Orange?
Because the Orange Bowl is a semifinal this year. Peach Bowl is a quarterfinal.
Okay.
Here's where things can get funny. Miami, as the number 3 seed in this bracket from yesterday, would go to the Peach Bowl and wait for the winner of Georgia and Penn State. If Georgia wins that game, Miami is playing Georgia in their backyard. There's no advantage to that.
There's so many problems with this. Like, look, expansion is great. I love it. But, man, leave it to...
It's convoluted.
This isn't even like the NCAA. This is just the college football playoff being so convoluted, so many things. There's always a million plot holes in this thing. It's insane. But a whole nother thing I wanted to bring up here is, Indiana, I feel like is such an interesting team because they're undefeated right now and they're having a great year, but they haven't played anyone. So my thing is, what if they lose to Ohio State? Let's say they lose by like 15, 20 points. I mean, are they even going to make the playoff at that point? Because I don't know. That's a whole nother thing, kind of in line with the conference championships. Like, if you don't schedule anyone and you go undefeated or whatever, and you only have 1 loss, you could make the playoff. That's the thing.
I want to go into this a little bit more. We'll wrap up our number 1 with this because it's an interesting question. Because what happens this weekend between Indiana and Ohio State, 1, sets the table for the conference championship game, and 2, begs a really important question of what happens to the loser. And I got some numbers to kind of make you think about this a little bit. That's coming up next. Wrap up hour number 1 of the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you on your Wednesday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
This is Boomer Esiason with Sports Minute, sponsored by Fisher Investments. There's a cold front sweeping across the country, folks, and it's no different on our penalty lap track within the NFL. The ice-cold Browns, Jets, Jags, and Raiders are all disasters in the making and facing major changes this offseason. This track is already very crowded, and guess what? It will remain so throughout the rest of the season. I'm Boomer Esiason.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
What do you call the NordVPN Black Friday deal, huh? The Block Friday deal. Because you block online threats. Black Friday, Block Friday. Get it? It's hilarious. Get the NordVPN Black Friday deal and block online threats now. NordVPN will encrypt your online traffic. Its Threat Protection Pro tool will defend you against web trackers, malicious websites, and malware-ridden downloads. Get the special Black Friday deal at NordVPN.com and enjoy safer internet daily. NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors. Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max used for adults only.
The Extra Point with your hosts, Tyler Head and Jack Beltry from Gamecock Central.
Sponsored by Pete Alewine Pool and Spa.
On the Game Network. And don't forget to download the 107.5 The Game app.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. Women's basketball tonight taking on Clemson tomorrow evening. Men's team back in action, taking on Mercer, 7 o'clock tip. Pregame coverage starting at 6:30 on our sister station, ESPN 1320 WISW, as the Carolina Calls with Coach Beamer will run from 6 until 7, and then we'll run right into tip-off between men's basketball and the Mercer Bears, all right here on the Game. Going to get into Indiana here in a second, but, you know, we've talked about the chaoticness of these expanded conferences with no divisions anymore and trying to figure out who's going to play in championship games. There is a realistic scenario where you could have a 6 SEC teams at 6-2 to close out the year, and all the tiebreakers where, like, it's crazy that Alabama, despite losing to Tennessee, would be in over Tennessee despite having the same record.
Which
I know
is
it's
crazy.
complicated.
Yep.
To highlight how complicated these things are, the Big Ten did not realize until yesterday that Oregon had clinched a spot in their championship game. Because typically, right, like during the season, you know, when a team's, hey, if they win this game, they're going to be in our championship game.
That's right.
But the Big Ten was not aware that they had done enough by beating Wisconsin on Saturday to clinch a spot until yesterday when they put out the press release. And I believe ESPN is the one that notified them. It's like, hey, according to your rules, Oregon can't drop out of your championship game now because they only have one game left. They're off this week to play Washington next week in their rivalry game. But, yeah, just show how complicated things are. The Big Ten didn't even know that Oregon was in until yesterday.
Absolutely just does that not sum up what this whole thing has been like? It's chaotic.
And look, we love college football, and we're not trying to complain about it or put it down, but so many of these things are so complicated, it just makes your head hurt, right? And then you have the chaoticness of what the playoff rankings are every single week and the questions that come out of it. And the biggest one being going into this weekend with the matchup between number 2 Ohio State and number 5 Indiana is what happens to the loser of this game. And a lot of people are focusing on what happens to Indiana. My question is, what happens to Ohio State? If Ohio State loses this game, what happens to them?
That's what I wonder, man, because all the talk, like you said, is about Indiana. And here's the thing. For Indiana, I think if they lose by a considerable amount, I think they drop out of the playoffs for sure. I mean, I just think they don't have the resume outside of that. What's their best win? Can anyone tell me? I don't see a best win on there. But best win might be Nebraska. But look, Ohio State, if they lose, it's like, okay, now they've got 2 losses. I know they had the loss in Eugene to Oregon, which on the surface is a good loss, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, you lose the number 1 team on a crazy last-second thing. That's valuable.
Yeah. The only thing is they do have wins at Happy Valley against Penn State, which is going to hold
that's their biggest win.
That'll hold the most value.
Penn State should win out.
Yes.
So you're going to have a win over a top 5 Penn State team.
And then your other best win, which they don't really have many of them, to be honest, because they have played Purdue and Northwestern lately, Iowa. I feel like Iowa's probably like their only other decent win.
But that's not a ranked win.
No, it's not. So that's the thing. Like, do you put in, and I feel like they're going to put in a 2-loss Ohio State on name brand alone and what they've done this year, but like, do they deserve to be in? That's the thing, man.
So looking at the numbers here, Ohio State has the 28th ranked strength of schedule, and they got to win, as we mentioned, over a top 5 Penn State team. Indiana's strength of schedule is 106th, and they have no wins over anybody in the top 25. This is their chance at a signature win. And a lot of people say, well, you know, if you lose by 10 or 14 points, there's no way you're going to drop from 5th all the way out. I look at Tennessee this past weekend. Tennessee went from 7 all the way down to 11, losing by 2 touchdowns to a number 12 Georgia team. What holds Tennessee up is their win over Alabama, who's ranked ahead of them as of right now. Indiana didn't have that. If Indiana loses on anything, in my opinion, other than a last-second field goal, I think they're going to tumble because they don't have anything else to fall back on. And look, your conference schedule is your conference schedule. You can only control so much of what happens within your conference, of what team's going to be good and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately for them, they don't have any kind of signature win. Like Michigan looked like it might be a good one before the season,
and Washington, like Indiana, on the surface coming into this year, they were playing the 2 teams that made the national championship game last year. So it's not their fault that those programs stink this year. But it's like you look at the rest of the schedule. It's not even just that, man. It's FIU, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, and then after this, it's Ohio State and then Purdue, and Purdue's awful. So you really do need this win to leave no doubt. Like if Indiana even wins this game by 1 point, they're getting into the playoff. Like, you're not leaving them out. Heck, they're probably even making it to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship.
Well, and that's the thing. If Indiana wins wins this weekend, they would be in position to go play Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State, again, they have the win over Penn State, which is holding them up. I think if they lose this game, they fall a little bit, but I don't think they're dropping outside the top 10.
Now, here's a hypothetical I have for you that I just thought of, and it adds to the whole chaos thing. Indiana. Let's say Indiana wins this weekend. They win next week against Purdue, and then they go to Indianapolis, Big Ten championship. Oregon blows them out like by 40 or something.
Yes.
Like kind of like when Ohio State beat Wisconsin 59-0.
Yes.
What happens?
So this is the hypothetical that Indiana's beating Ohio State.
Yes. They finish the season 12-0, and then they get slammed by Oregon.
See, again, I don't think you should be punished even in an ugly loss.
But it's
for
like
losing a conference championship. Now, could that? Now, here's the thing: and again, this is hypothetical. If you were to say, Indiana loses to Oregon as two undefeateds by 3 points, say, okay, well, they probably shouldn't move.
No, but they'll be fine.
I'm assuming they're probably going to be ranked like second in the country at that point in time, so they probably shouldn't move, which means they would be the first team outside of the teams that get buys to host a first-round game as a number 5 seed, taking on the number 12 seed. That's fine. You lose by a lot to Oregon as an undefeated team. All right, you're probably going to drop, in my opinion, to maybe like 6 or 7, which still puts you in a position to host. You're just not getting the better draw. So, again, if you're going undefeated, I think you're sitting pretty either way because I don't think you should be punished for losing your conference championship game. I'm just going off of the precedent that the committee is setting, as I'm afraid that they will punish you for it.
It is going to be interesting, though, if one of the conference champion losers is a 3-loss team. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. I wonder what the precedent is with that. That's the thing.
Hey, it gives us stuff to talk about.
It does. We love it.
I am thankful for. That'll do it for hour number 1 of the Extra Point. We'll check with the guy Dimitri Ravenos coming up next. Get his thoughts on where Alabama sits, as well as talk some Panthers as well on your Wednesday here on the game.
.1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Tyler Head for our friends over at Twin Peaks. Have you been holding out for epic Twin Peaks gear to go on sale? Well, this is your chance to go big. You can score a massive 20% off online merch with promo code BF2024. That is BF2024 through November the 29th. Just visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/shop. Tag the perfect swag to your cart and save big. As I tell you about all the time, there's no better place to be this time of year than at Twin Peaks with all the football and basketball and hockey and everything going on with TVs as far as the eye can see, those 29-degree draft beers, and of course that delicious food as well, as nobody does happy hour like Twin Peaks either. Whether you are looking for a tequila cocktail or an extensive bourbon category with top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls, Twin Peaks got whatever you can want and so much more. Get down to Twin Peaks with our friends at the Vista here soon.
Double the relaxation this Black Friday with Hand & Stone's BOGO gift card sale. Buy one at guest price and get one free. Discover relaxation at any of their 3 locations or handandstone.com. Don't miss out on this limited time offer to indulge yourself or someone special.
Bill Gunner for Charwood Golf Club, one of the Midland's hidden secrets. You need to get out there today, especially if you're not at Willie B this fall enjoying a great atmosphere at a football game. Enjoy the great atmosphere at Charwood Golf Club. Schedule a tee time today, 803-755-2000. Schedule that tee time. Go visit the Wood today and enjoy, again, a great 18-hole layout in a fantastic, relaxed environment. That number again, 803-755-2000. Call today and schedule a tee time.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more, or call them at 803-520-6837, and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
Rising prescription costs? Changes to your network? This year, it's more important than ever to review the annual changes to your Medicare coverage. Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina is here to help you understand these changes and guide you through your options, including our Medicare Advantage plans, which start at $0 per month and include medical and prescription drug coverage, as well as valuable extras such as dental, hearing, and vision benefits. With Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina's Medicare Advantage plans, you're home. Call us today at 1-888-663-0923. That's 1-888-663-0923. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed insurance agent. Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina is a Medicare Advantage PPO plan with a Medicare contract. Enrollment depends on contract renewal. Your health plan complies with applicable federal civil rights laws and does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, age, disability, or sex. Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association.
Families affected by Hurricanes Milton and Helene urgently need support. Help the American Red Cross provide meals and shelter to these families. Donate today to hurricane relief by going to redcross.org or calling 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Hey, Daydreamer. Did we catch you thinking about your dreams? With Wells Fargo Premier, a team can help you plan for them. So let's imagine your biggest dream. Not the easy one, the one behind it. The one you work towards every day and every night. Can you see it? Then we can help you plan for it. Ready to start planning for your dreams? You can at wellsfargo.com/getpremier.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game, a Cumulus media station. The extra point, the extra point, the extra point, the extra point.
With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Points. I've had along with you on your Wednesday here on the Game, as we do each and every Wednesday, checking out with the guy, Dimitri Ravenos, get his thoughts on what's going on around the world of sports. And Dimitri, we'll get into some Panther stuff here in a minute, but the hot conversation this morning has revolved around the college ball playoff latest rankings coming out last night. And I wanted to ask you this question because we just talked about in the last segment the fact that the Big Ten was not aware that Oregon had clinched their championship game spot until like yesterday because of how convoluted their tiebreakers have been. You like to needle Tennessee fans quite a bit. For anybody that knows you, that is one of your favorite hobbies, it seems like. How upset are the people in Tennessee going to be when they realize via the tiebreakers that Alabama will be going to the championship game over the Volunteers?
Yeah, they won't be the only one, right? Ole Miss fans are going to feel that same way. There are going to be a bunch of teams in the SEC's case that are locked up at 10-2. I have a feeling that there will be plenty of. Now, granted, Ohio State would have beaten both Indiana and Penn State for this to be true, but those teams would all be locked up probably with one loss. And just I talked about this with you last week, right? The nature of these gigantic conferences mean everybody is not going to play everybody. So we are going to be getting to that fourth and fifth tiebreaker in a lot of conferences, and it's going to drive people nuts. I wonder how many people in the Big 12 realize right now that Colorado is they're pretty safe to make the championship game at this point.
Yeah, they only have the one conference loss. Now, they got Kansas this weekend. That's not going to be easy, especially after Kansas beat BYU last weekend. But, yeah, they're in the driver's seat. And, I mean, BYU's got a good chance to lose to Arizona State this weekend. We could have Colorado and Arizona State playing for the Big 12 championship here in a couple weeks, based on the way the rankings fell last night, I'm a firm believer that the ACC and the Big 12 are only going to get one team in, no matter which way it goes, based on where teams sit as of right now, which is a big benefit for the SEC and the Big 10, and Notre Dame as well, of course. But, yeah, I mean, we could be talking about Coach Prime taking Colorado into the playoff.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you got to give him all the credit in the world, and I will be the first to admit I wrote them off as a not serious program before the season, just giving all of the volume of the storylines that had nothing to do with would they be good or bad on the field, combined with the fact that last year they just completely ignored line play. They are legitimately one of the 12 best teams in the country right now, and I think they are going to be a problem for whoever they have to play in the first round. To me, that's the most interesting thing to come out of the college football playoff rankings last night is right now Boise State is sitting there with a bye, which they should. I think they're one of the 4 best conference champions, but I would not have predicted that the college football playoff, like there is what you and I as fans know are right, and then there are what they as people making a TV show are actually going to do, and to get Boise into that second round automatically would be a bold step.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, none of this is perfect, which is prime content for us, which I'm thankful for, certainly. Right. As I played some of the clips of Ward Manuel. As every single year, I think they look at the committee chairs like, all right, who can go on TV and tell us the most nothing thing for 4 or 5 minutes with Reese Davis? You? Okay, you're the guy.
Right. Yeah, that's living here in the Triangle up in North Carolina. Bubba Cunningham from NC State was that guy for a few years on the basketball side. And Bubba was really good at speaking for an extended period of time and Cinderella teams still having no idea why they did or did not make the tournament.
Well, the funniest thing from Ward Manuel last night when they're asking me, oh, hey, how are you looking at criteria? He's like, we just watch the games. Like, well, good. I'm glad you do, but that's not telling me anything about your critical thinking on why teams are ranked the way they are.
Right. That's the thing that I think fans need to understand. Like, if you lined Carolina and Boise State up on a field right now, do I think Boise State would win? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be comfortable if they did. But does that mean Carolina deserves a spot over Boise State? Not the way we've set up this tournament. Not the way everybody understands the rules of making this playoff. I mean, I know it disappoints Gamecocks fans, and it should because they are coming on at the right time. But I'm sorry, with 3 losses, you're already out of it.
Yeah, I said this earlier that being 18th and essentially because Tennessee's 11th right now and on the outside looking in, having to jump 8 spots in 2 weeks with an FCS opponent this week, I don't see it happening outside of just tons and tons of chaos elsewhere 2 weeks from now.
Let's be fair. An FCS opponent this week and Clemson next week is not going to score you the points it would have a couple of weeks ago.
It's not, and Clemson is 1 spot above them, so you do have the ability to beat a team ranked higher than you, and I think they get in the top 15, but I don't see them going much higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, even though they beat A&M, given what is at stake right now for the Aggies, the fact that they are in front of the Gamecocks and they still have work to do to be in the playoff field, it's hopeless. I mean, it sucks, but it's hopeless for the Gamecocks to get in this year. Doesn't mean that they're not at the start of building something interesting and good, but it's hopeless for 2024.
Let's transition to the other Carolina now. The Carolina Panthers, who don't look, have actually not been playing terribly these past couple weeks. I do my NFL top 5, bottom 5 every Tuesday, and for the first time this year, the Panthers did not appear in my bottom 5 after coming off of the win and the bye against the Giants last weekend in Germany.
Listen, some people are calling it a 2-game win streak. I'm calling it a 3-week unbeaten streak right now.
There you go. And you and I talked about this yesterday. You posed the question of, like, is this a mirage? Is there reason to think this is something, or is it just a blip on the radar?
Right. I mean, look at who they have gotten the wins against, right? New Orleans and New York, 2 bad teams. Even though New Orleans has put together back-to-back wins after losing to Carolina, that was their 7th loss in a row. We haven't been asking a whole lot of Bryce, but he does look more confident and more competent as the starting quarterback of this team, and we are all getting caught up in that. But again, I point out that the Saints defense pretty banged up, the Giants defense pretty lifeless overall. Maybe we don't know as much about whether or not he has turned a corner as we think we do. I think he has turned a corner in what is a long, winding maze, right, to being an effective NFL quarterback. And everybody is talking about Bryce. I think the barrage we really need to be focused on right now is the defense, because they looked really good against New York in Munich. And on top of that, they are getting healthy along the defensive line. I don't know if you saw this, but J.C. Horn told reporters yesterday that he sort of wants to walk back some of the things he said earlier in the year about this team not knowing how to tackle, because once you have depth along your defensive line again, you see how problems there literally trickle back to every level of the defense, and now he feels pretty confident about where they are. I think DJ Wanham is a great addition. It's great to be getting guys back at this point in the season as opposed to losing guys, I still want to see them put up a fight against Kansas City before I say this is an improved defense.
And you're getting a Kansas City team obviously coming off the first loss of the year to Buffalo this upcoming weekend. And look, Kansas City's not been playing their best football, but they've been finding ways to win. In fact, I saw somebody a couple weeks ago just being funny on Twitter. This is before Kansas City had lost, saying, yeah, they'll probably beat the Panthers like 24-20 and have to sweat that one out like they've done just about every other game this season, which is very believable. And that's just how parity-filled the NFL is as of right now. But the question with the Panthers is, look, you're 3-7 right now. You're not going to win the NFC South. You're obviously not going to be making it in the playoffs. How do you manage this back half of the season? Because theoretically, you'd love to have a high draft pick again and build that way. But at the same time, if you've got something going, do you want to try and neuter it? Like it's a weird position to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the back half of this season and, you mentioned it, 3-7, so there are only 7 games left to go. I think there is one game on the schedule that I look at and go, it would be disappointing if they lose that game, and that's Dallas. But it doesn't mean that there are not winnable games. I will tell you, Tyler, before they lost to the Bills, Lauren and I were talking about, is there a chance the Panthers could sneak up and catch a sort of dazed Kansas City not taking this game seriously? Now, I don't know so much. But I think, to your point, how do you manage the back half of the season? Well, in addition to the defense getting guys back, we're supposed to see the rookie running back Jonathan Brooks for the first time this season. There is some question about whether or not Adam Thielen is coming back off of the IR this week. We think Ike Ekwonu is coming back off the IR. That means Brady Christensen now has to find a different spot along the offensive line if he has one at all. I think, at least for this week, because nobody has high expectations of you anyway, I think you go in looking at this game as figuring out, okay, what is our offensive depth chart going forward? How much stress do we want to put on Jonathan Brooks's ACL? Miles Sanders is out for the year now. Somebody's got to take those carries because you can't run Chuba into the ground now that you've invested in him for the long term. How does Thielen fit in, and how does Bryce use Thielen, who was his favorite target last year, in an age when, look, XL is coming on. Jalen Coker has been a godsend that we didn't see coming. What does that do to the targets in the offense? Jatavian Sanders as well has been a big contributor there. And what does a patchwork offensive line look like if your starting left tackle, who we don't really love, honestly, is coming back? There's a lot of experimentation that they have to do, and I think they can afford to do it this week.
And, of course, the Chiefs have one of the best defenses in all the NFL. It's what they've kind of been hanging their hat on for a lot of the season with their offensive struggles. And, again, Bryce Young has not exactly been lighting the world on fire, but he's played better since he's come back from his benching after, Andy Dalton got his hand hurt in that car wreck. If Bryce Young goes out there and were to have not a career day, like throw for 400 yards, something like that, but a very solid day against one of the better defenses of the NFL, is that enough to kind of, I don't want to say end the conversation, but people feel good enough saying, okay, this can still be our guy. We don't have to go back to the drawing board at quarterback next year?
Look, my guy, I think you are overestimating what a career day, what the numbers have to be for Bryce Young to have an NFL career day.
Fair point.
I think he's done enough already to say we don't have to do this dance each and every week of who the starting quarterback is going to be. But whether it's Dave Canales, whether it's Dave Tepper, whether it's Dan Morgan, somebody in the Carolina organization feels that way, that they still are going to string it out until Wednesday before they name a starting quarterback. Honestly, Tyler, I don't know if Bryce could do anything the rest of this year to change whoever that is, to change their mind about what has to happen next season, or even if they know yet what has to happen next season.
Last NFL question for you. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be the first ever quarterback, head coach, and general manager at the same time in NFL history?
Did you read that story in The Athletic yesterday about, the poor GM from the New York Jets that just got sidelined by his owner? Like, dude, he got sidelined by falling for the shell game that is 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Give me a break. Yeah, he's probably going to be, because the Jets have painted themselves in the corner. Yep. The only franchise dumb enough to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. The Jets games that I've watched this year, I'm like, that definitely looks like a 40-year-old man that tore his Achilles last year, and it's not looking like it's going to get any better.
Yeah, it keeps telling you everything is fine. That's the part that drives me the craziest. He keeps telling you that, oh, the problem is these young guys don't understand this offense that the rest of the league has caught up to. Like, it's maddening. And here's the other part, too. And I think this is really important to say, Tyler. I have never encountered a Jets fan in real life before. I am not positive they actually exist. I think the franchise may be an invention of the media.
I had a buddy in high school that was a big Jets fan. I haven't seen him in like 10 years, so maybe he's renounced his fanship since then, but that's the only one I've been keenly aware of.
I'm sorry, I don't believe you. I think you're lying. I think you're part of the conspiracy.
I'll get you his number, and maybe you can pick his brain a little bit on why he decided to pick that team.
All right, very good.
All right, we'll check in with you next week as always, Dimitri. See you, buddy.
All right, Tyler, good talk.
It is the Extra Points Hour ahead along with you. We'll dive into a little bit of what Coach Beamer had to say yesterday. Is there value in playing an FCS team this weekend before closing out the regular season with Clemson? That's coming up next. Is the Extra Points Hour ahead along with you on your Wednesday here on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
Everyone wants you to pay for their streaming app. You gotta have this one, you gotta have that one. Well, not us, here at The Game. Why? Because we love you more than they do. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app for free. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Have you had a broken windshield complement to those South Carolina roads? The insurance company might try to steer you one way, the big national guy. But remember, it's your choice. Go local. Call Absolute Glass.
We can repair your car back to factory specifications, including recalibrating all of your safety systems. We do great work and have been building long-lasting relationships for over 20 years.
That's why we've been voted Best Glass Company in Lexington for 15 straight years. Visit us online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com or call us at 951-7200. And remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Get ready to ring in the holiday season with Gamecock fans of all ages at the Making Spirits Bright Holiday Pop-Up Experience at Williams-Brice Stadium, presented by Coca-Cola. Tickets are now on sale for this $5.90 event in December and are only $10. Get your tickets today to join us at the Making Spirits Bright Holiday Pop-Up and experience the magic of the holiday season with us. Visit GamecocksOnline.com/holiday to learn more.
Hey, it's Preston Thorne. I'm here with my buddy Brian Glenn from Village Idiot Pizza, and we're here to tell you about something that's near and dear to our hearts.
That's right, Preston. November is National Prematurity Awareness Month, and we are kicking off our 7th annual Pizza for Preemies campaign to benefit the March of Dimes.
Percentage of all sales will be donated to March of Dimes, or you can round up your orders.
You can also purchase a cutout in either of our locations. New this year, we have a direct-to-donate QR code, and then 100% of the sales of our featured pizza of the month, the Pesto Primavera, will also be donated.
Get ready to smile because Herndon Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy dealer, is offering an amazing deal right now. Get up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Yes, you heard that right. Up to $20,000 off. Don't wait. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Chevy, together let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
Honey, would you take a seat? I have a confession to make.
What is it? What's wrong?
Well, I was out driving today and I saw some hookers on the side of the road. A bunch of huge, professional, beautiful-looking hookers. So I did what I was supposed to do. I slowed down and I moved over.
You slowed down for the hookers?
Well, yeah, it's the law. There was a whole fleet of Schroeder's towing trucks assisting with an accident. Wait, what did you think I was talking about?
Schroeder's Towing reminds you to slow down and move over for all first responders.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit cantycanfixit.com.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, the credit card bill came and we're maxed out.
Great. Maxed out cards, rent is due, bills are piling up. We just need some extra cash to help us get by for a few weeks.
We should do what my brother did. He went to billshappen.com and got $3,000 the next day.
With our bad credit, I don't think so.
Billshappen.com is different. They are one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types get up to $5,000.
I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Nope, my brother said it was easy. He did it right from his phone.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000 in minutes, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. Billshappen.com's lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history.
Great news! I went to billshappen.com, and we will have our money as soon as tomorrow.
Wow, that is fast.
If you need extra cash, go to billshappen.com. That's billshappen.com. Billshappen.com.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back into the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday here on the Game. Reminder again, women's basketball coming up tonight, taking on Clemson. 5 o'clock tip. Pregame coverage starting at 4:30 here on the Game as Don Staley's crew looks to continue their undefeated run, dating all the way back to the beginning of last season, as take on Clemson in the Palmetto series coming up later on today. I want to get into a little bit of what Coach Beamer had to say yesterday when talking to the media, mainly revolving around playing Wofford this weekend and where that kind of fits in the schedule. He was asked the question on the significance or lack thereof playing an FCS team the week before Clemson. Here's what Coach Beamer had to say yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. 21 was Auburn, 22 was Tennessee, and 23 was Kentucky, wasn't it? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. But it is different. They don't ask me, first of all. So, I mean, I guess the schedules, I'm assuming the 24 date for the Wofford game was probably set before I even got hired. I guess Clemson's doing the same thing because they play Citadel this week, right? So I guess they're doing the same thing. I really hadn't thought about it. I know it's coach speak to say, well, we just play them whenever they tell us to play them, and we'll be there and all that as well, which is true. I mean, we'll play them whenever we're supposed to be there as far as the week before that Clemson game. But I know it's, now that you mentioned now, I mean, more than I think about it, it's probably, it seems like most of the teams in the SEC do have that kind of game, or not kind of game, but a non-conference game before the rivalry game. It seems like Alabama, always does in the past. I guess they don't this week. I think they play Oklahoma, but okay, gotcha. So I don't know. I know I'm bouncing around. I haven't really given you an answer, but there's merit to both of them. And obviously we've had success with playing a big non-conference game before Clemson, and we've last year, I guess we've won all 3 games before the Clemson game, right? Knock on wood. So I don't know. How's that?
And look, Coach Beamer's never going to say it, but we all refer to this weekend affectionately as Cupcake Saturday, and we have for a long time. This has been the history of the SEC where for many years a lot of teams will play an FCS team or a group of 5 team the week before playing your rival at the end of the season as a way to take a little bit of a break, go out there, put up 50 points, let your starters rest for a half, and get ready for your final game of the regular season, get ready for the postseason, all that kind of stuff. But as we expand into this 12-team format, it begs the question to me of, is there still value in doing that? Now, again, I know why we play FCS teams. You pay them the $1.5 million or $2 million that funds their program. I get why these games are on the schedule. Personally, I've said this before, I'd rather play them in a spring game to where it's not affecting your regular season schedule, but that's a different conversation for a different day. My question becomes of, do we still need to be playing these games in November? And let's look at Carolina's situation right now, sitting at number 18 in the college football playoff poll. Whereas we talked about, leading into last night, there was still maybe kind of a slight chance they could work their way in to the 12-team playoff. I think that's kind of gone out the door because they're sitting at number 18. But if you had an extra high-caliber opponent this weekend as opposed to Wofford, you do something to help your case out even more. Now, I'm not saying that team has to be ranked, but even if you were playing Auburn or Mississippi State or Arkansas, teams that are towards the bottom of the SEC, and you beat them by 4 touchdowns. Yeah, it's not a super quality win, but still a conference opponent that could move the needle a little bit. Because the way that I look at it this weekend for both Carolina and for Clemson, as well as Coach Beamer mentioned them playing Citadel, they can't really do anything to help their case this weekend. They should beat both those teams pretty handily and set their sights on each other coming up next weekend, which, the winner of that game is probably going to move a couple spots because Clemson's 17, Carolina's 18. So you give yourself the opportunity to move into maybe the top 15, depending on how things go around you. But you're missing out on a critical data point late in the season by playing, again, Cupcake Saturday when the opponent doesn't give you enough quality to move the needle outside of just a bunch of teams in front of you losing, like Alabama did this past weekend with Mercer. They didn't jump up 3 spots because they beat Mercer 52-6. They jumped up 3 spots because teams in front of them ended up losing. So you can only benefit from other teams around you failing as opposed to you yourself winning. So, again, it kind of begs the question of, do you reshuffle the way that you think about schedules? And the way that the committee has been ranking things here as of late, it almost kind of seems like what happened in September is for the most part relatively inconsequential. So if I'm South Carolina, why am I not just loading up September with those lower-end games and making sure I have quality or conference opponents late in the season? And actually looking at the future of the Gamecock schedule, it kind of seems like, whether intentionally or not, that's the direction they're kind of starting to lean towards. Now, as of right now, we know the SEC is guaranteed to have an 8-game conference schedule coming up in 2025. But 2026 and beyond is the question. We assume it's going to be 9 games. We don't know that for sure, but that's the thinking as long as ESPN ponies up the money to be willing to pay for that extra conference game. And looking at Carolina's set schedules as of right now for 26 and beyond, yes, you got Clemson every single year in November, and in most years you have a quality Power 4 opponent. Got a home and home with Miami in 26-27, home and home with North Carolina 28-29, a road trip to NC State in 2031, and a home game against them in 2030, so home and home there as well. And as of right now, all the lower-end teams are scheduled in the month of September. Now, again, I think that's just more of a predicting where the conference is going to go as far as their schedule goes, but I can't help but think that's only going to benefit you should you get yourself in another scenario like this where you're 18th, needing 2 significant wins to maybe bump yourself into the top 12 or top 10, whatever the line's going to be at the college ball playoff, that is not existing right now with the way your current schedule sets up. Because, again, another quality win, even if it's against a not great SEC team, goes a whole lot farther than playing Wofford this upcoming weekend. So I would much rather have seen this game in September and moved Kentucky to this weekend. Again, Kentucky's not great, but if you went out there and beat them the exact same way, 31-6 like you did earlier on in the season, well, that's an opportunity for maybe you to move up a few spots because you mauled a conference opponent as opposed to beating the Terriers, 59-3 or something like that. We likely could expect to happen this upcoming weekend. Similarly, this conversation has been going on for a while now, but especially seeing it, with the latest rankings, how much value gets put into actually playing high-caliber non-conference teams? And the SEC does have the rule where you have to schedule at least one one Power 4 team outside your conference every single year. For teams like Carolina and Georgia and Florida, you get that baked in with your in-conference rival. And with the way the committee kind of views things, with how strong your resume is at being in the SEC or the Big Ten anyway, I don't know why you'd go out there and try and schedule anybody else. Again, looking at Carolina's future schedule with Miami and NC State and North Carolina programs like that, that only, in a way, kind of puts you in a position to hurt yourself. And I bring that up because let's look at Texas A&M, right? A&M only has 1 loss in conference play, that being South Carolina. Their other loss is to Notre Dame. Now, that's a good loss because Notre Dame's number 6, whether you believe they should be or not, because, again, I think that now NIU loss should be holding them back a little bit more than that. But let's say A&M doesn't play Notre Dame. Let's say A&M instead schedules Incarnate Word or Lamar or some, slappy FCS team out there in Texas, and they win that game, and they're sitting there at 9-1 right now, with that only loss being to Carolina. Guess what? They would be in the top 10 right now, in the driver's seat to be in the playoffs, even if they don't beat Texas next weekend, and still be able to make the 12-team field. So it almost kind of seems like, which is the opposite effect of what the playoff expanding wanted to do. They wanted to put more value on playing these high-caliber non-conference games, but it seems like it's almost kind of having the opposite effect because you're seeing yourself being hurt more than helped in a lot of ways with having these games on your schedule because much like the now conference championship games, the risk seems to be a lot higher than the reward is if you end up losing these games as opposed to winning them. Now, again, schedules as of right now are set in place for the next handful of years, and we don't know how much the playoff is going to expand or change within these next couple of years, but it's not having the intended consequence that it was originally brought in to have. And these conversations are being had, obviously, with people like us doing the job that we do and the talking heads around the nation, but I imagine they're happening behind closed doors as well. Because, again, Greg Sankey's main objective as the commissioner of the SEC is to make sure the SEC looks as strong as possible. And if you can get 6 teams in the college football playoff, then that benefits your conference greatly. But right now, if A&M were to lose to Texas, that Notre Dame loss is likely the reason why A&M does not make the conference or does not make the 12-team playoff, as opposed to, and I'll give you one better. Instead of playing Notre Dame, let's say they played Purdue. That still satisfies the Power 4 requirement, but they should be able to beat Purdue pretty handily, right? Like it just seems like it's having the opposite effect of what was originally intended with this. Again, just kind of my thoughts on the observing of where the committee has people as right now and the question around Carolina playing an FCS team in the next last week of the regular season, because, again, it's not doing anything to help you. Certainly hurts you if you lose the game, and if you lose the game, you don't deserve to be in the 12-team playoff anyway, but I would have much rather seen Carolina play a conference or higher caliber type Power 4 team in the slot to help make your case for the playoff as opposed to playing a Wofford team. So, again, can't change it. Schedule set in place for a long time to come, but right now it is what it is. Halfway through hour number 2 of the Extra Point. Coming up next, a new friend that'll be joining me each and every Wednesday. I'll introduce you to him as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday here in the game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
It's back! The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register. The pot starts at $100. Every week it increases $100 if Carolina doesn't score a special teams touchdown. But if the Gamecocks do score a special teams touchdown, you could win the pool. Again, just go to 1075thegame.com and register. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest from 1075 The Game.
Prescription products require completion of an online consultation with an independent healthcare provider and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Additional restrictions apply. See website for more details and safety information.
Is Cialis Daily really better than Viagra?
If you like spontaneity, the answer is yes. So when the mood strikes, you're ready to go.
I felt like a young man again. My wife is definitely much happier.
When you take it, you're ready to go.
Does Cialis Daily last longer than Viagra?
Guys are raving that their results last even longer.
My partner thinks that I am a rock star.
Because it is effective, I say I'm on a second honeymoon.
It's literally life-changing.
Are 30-day sample packs available?
You can now access a 30-day sample pack at TryRexMD.com with generics at just $1 per tablet, if appropriate. Online approval at TryRexMD.com is simple, with medication delivered direct to your door. There's no copay, no doctor office visit, and your shipping is always free. Visit TryRexMD.com to get your sample pack. That's TryRexMD.com.
Calling all business owners and property managers.
Is it finally time to get that parking lot or driveway repaved?
Call Black Seal today. Black Seal is a locally owned commercial, you name it.
If it needs asphalt paving or asphalt repair,
Black Seal has you covered. If you're looking to pave your parking lot or driveway, Black Seal paves the way. Black Seal also provides maintenance options to maintain your asphalt
and improve your curb appeal.
Get your free estimate and visit blacksealsc.com to learn more.
At Atkins Law, we are proud alumni of USC. Since graduating, our attorneys continue to be proud supporters of Gamecock sports.
And we understand that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that breeds excellence on the court. Extensive preparation, teamwork, loyalty, all of those things we put into practice every day.
Remember, if you've been hurt on the job, who you hire matters. Call us at 803-251-6406 or find out more at Holly Atkins Law, GCTH.com.
You can count on hot summers in the Midlands.
You can count on those South Carolina roads biting.
And when you end up with a broken windshield, you can certainly count on Absolute Glass.
With one phone call, we can repair, replace, and recalibrate your car's windshield.
We'll handle the insurance calls, and for most folks, it won't cost you a dime to let us fix your windshield.
Absolute Glass has been voted Lexington's best for 15 years straight.
So call Absolute Glass at 951-7200.
Or find us online at absoluteglassinc.com.
And remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Clark. Garnet Trust is hoping to build the best and most sustainable NIL program in the country. To find out how you can get involved, go on over to garnettrust.com. You can support Gamecock athletes there, get access to exclusive content, and help Garnet Trust build the best NIL program in the country.
Traditions Fine Jewelers here with a reminder that Christmas is coming, and they have gifts for everyone you love at prices that won't break the bank. This year's hottest item will definitely be diamond studs, and Traditions Fine Jewelers are stocked to the ceiling with incredible values, starting with quarter-carat total weights set in sterling silver, just $99. Or how about half-carat total weights for just $199? You can also choose 1-carat total weights set in 14-carat white or yellow gold, just $5.99. Or how about 2-carat total weights set in 14-carat gold, just $9.99. And finally, if you really want to get the ultimate gift, 4-carat total weights, just $19.99. Yes, you heard right. That's a 2-carat diamond in each ear for just $19.99. So if this is the year you want to give her something special, come see Traditions Fine Jewelers and make her Christmas dreams come true. 2 convenient locations on Sunset in Lexington and next to the fountain at Sandhills. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
When you have sports mixed with your pop culture, along with humor and celebrity interviews, your earbuds are enjoying The Rich Eisen Show. The NFL's Dan Campbell, head coach of the Detroit Lions.
You got a good Parcells story, Dan Campbell?
Man, I got a million Parcells stories. I'm going to be a star. I'm going to go to Dallas and start. Bill tells me straight up, I'm just telling you right now, he goes, we really like you. Man, you fit here, but you're a backup. I was so heated. You know what? Yeah, I will come here and sign as a backup just to prove you wrong. It's like a mind trick.
Search for The Rich Eisen Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Points Hour. Head along with you on your Wednesday here on the Game. We're talking about a new voice adding to the weekly rotation. I call like my 9 to noon the cavalcade of characters because I have so many people that come in and out that I get to work with. And the latest addition to that group is Jalen Tart, whom people may know from WIS right down the street from us. Right. Jalen, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks.
Welcome in.
Hey, it's just glad to be here. I'm very fortunate to be here. Glad to be in the studio with you. It's very exciting to be talking about Carolina athletics for the first time, me being a local kid from here. Right. So I'm very happy to be here.
People very familiar with you from your work, literally across the street at WIS. You're not an on-air reporter anymore, correct?
No. I took another position to be a technical media producer for the station. And these past few months, just been thinking, like, I want to go back to doing sports because for people that may know me, I've been doing sports my entire life. So we can get into the backstory a little bit later on.
But like you said, you're very local. You've been around here most of your life. I know you were away up in actually New York for a while doing something similar to this. But you're a down home South Carolina guy.
Yes, I'm a local 803 Columbia, South Carolina product. Love Columbia. All my family is here in the state of South Carolina. Just love being around people that are from Columbia and that love Gamecock athletics.
Yeah, and again, you're very familiar with what's been going on here, just kind of growing up around it. So excited to have you in here on Wednesdays to get your thoughts on some things. As man, I really can't think of a better time to be coming in than what's going on with, obviously, women's basketball dominating the way they are, men's basketball on the rise. Obviously, Beamer's got the football program turned in the right direction. In your lifetime, can you think of like a more exciting time across all Gamecock sports?
Honestly, not really. The most exciting time that I've seen from the athletics program was 2012. Was the 2010 through 2014 time frame was the best I've seen like Columbia rally around. That was kind of the year where Dawn Staley was getting herself established before she got Asia Wilson to come. But that time with with Marcus Lattimore, with Connor Shaw, Alshon Jeffrey, those guys. Even when Shane Beamer was here as a coordinator, and Steve Spurrier was at the helm, that was a very exciting time for the city when I was growing up watching football. But I was watching Chris Smelly. That was my very first time listening and hearing about Carolina was Chris Smelly. And this is how, hearing Todd Ellis on the air after all these years is just phenomenal. And that's my connection with 107.5 The Games. I've been hearing Todd Ellis for years call Gamecock games. And honestly, just being around the product, Carolina athletics has transformed a lot within the past 15 years. It's now becoming a mecca now of sports, not just for women's basketball, but now for football and men's basketball. From what we saw last year, they're trying to pick up the momentum heading into this year with their season just starting.
And I think you have an interesting perspective as somebody that grew up here locally, and you're only a couple years younger than me, so I can kind of equate the time frame of what I was watching growing up and stuff like that, where, through the early 2000s, especially, the Lou Holt years with football, not great. They finally started winning a little bit, but not a whole lot. And then Spurrier comes in and kicks to another gear, and they go on the run of, all those 10-win seasons, going to big bowl games and beating Clemson and all that kind of stuff. And right around that same time is when Ray Tanner takes the baseball program to the back-to-back national championships. And like you said, about a decade ago is when Don Staley's coming in. And it took a few years, obviously, to get to the national championship level, but you could see it on the rise. So, in your lifetime alone, you've seen, I don't want to say they were an irrelevant program for the most part, but Carolina went from being something that nobody talked about a lot across the board to being something that in one sport or another, you're always going to be around that top relevancy mark.
And I think we were South Carolina was more of a afterthought in the sense of them finding the success that they needed. At that time, with me watching, Carolina athletics, the big talk was Alabama and Nick Saban. The big talk was John Calipari and Kentucky. The big talk was Florida in baseball, with them winning, in Vanderbilt, getting to Omaha countless number of years. But now Carolina, to me, has waited their turn. And they have now, set us to the plate, and we're seeing almost all the programs doing exceptionally well. We've seen women's soccer almost defeat Texas in the conference championship.
Yeah, women's soccer in the second round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so it's I think we're seeing Carolina athletics as a whole go to another level, and and fans all across South Carolina are loving it right now.
So last year, just kind of sticking to football here, a disappointing year. 5-7, missed a bowl game. We talked about it the entire offseason of, man, if nothing else, just get yourself to 6 wins, get back to a bowl game. That's at least a step in the right direction. I don't think they're going to be able to do enough to get in, but, man, we've been talking the past couple of weeks about Carolina's potential path to the playoff.
Yeah.
And they come in at number 18 last night, a significant step forward from where we were a year ago.
It is a significant step forward. My only takeaway is, how is Missouri still ranked?
Great question.
That is my only thing.
I don't know.
They say that 23, but other than that, I think Carolina moving up is a good sign to say we're actually trajecting in the right direction. We've established a new quarterback with Lenoris. We didn't know what we were going to get after the departure of Spencer Rattler. It was a big question mark to say, how will Lenoris come in and fit in as a redshirt freshman? Then you bring in Rocket Sanders, who beforehand was a legitimate elite back at Arkansas. Didn't know what we were going to get. And then you also bring in other wide receivers. You bring size to help surround Lenoris, which I think the offensive court, the coaching staff has done a great enough job to surround the supporting cast to help Lenoris shine the way he's shining. And they're young.
They are, and you're going to lose some guys on defense for sure. They're a veteran defense that's going to be retooled in the offseason. But, looking at Lenoir Sellers coming back for another year, Nick Harbor, who's come on a lot stronger these past couple weeks as his development of wide receiver continues. Obviously, some young guys in the offensive line that show promise there. Michael Smith at tight end that's made some good plays this year, got a touchdown the other day as well. So plenty of reason to be excited about what's going to be happening in 2025 and beyond, but there's still plenty of football to be played this year. And, again, I think they're a little too far out to make the playoff at this point in time, but you have a chance to beat Clemson and get to 9 wins. You have a chance to play in a bowl game and make yourself to 10 wins if you beat Clemson coming up next week and obviously beat Wofford this upcoming weekend. And, again, I'm not much for silver linings, but you could be that team that just barely misses the playoffs and build off of that going into next season.
I personally agree. I think these next 3 games, especially the Clemson game, depending upon what happens within the top 10, I don't know how much. And it also depends upon how depending upon the winner and the loser and the margin would determine how many spots Carolina will go up. They just look so balanced. Both Clemson and Carolina look very balanced. And kind of like what you were saying in the under segment before, I kind of do disagree with having an FCS game a week before the end of the season. I personally think it's weak. I personally think it's not really challenging your team, knowing that you have a big game going against Clemson at the end of the season. But it's not really adding anything. But more or less, I think Carolina is like I said before, trajecting in the right direction. These next 3 games are going to be critical. And then also going into the next season as well, you maybe have a preseason ranking. You didn't have a preseason ranking coming into the season, but you can build off and go into the next season. And also, too, you have recruits that are coming in as well that could play a big factor in the building that culture for the team as well going into next season.
I can't think of there are better recruiting pitches, but a pretty solid one is being able to say, man, we just missed out on being in the playoff for 14, 15, whatever it may be. We get you in here, you're going to help us be that difference between being 14th and being 10th or 5th or something like that. So great recruiting pitch. And look, Beamer's obviously done a really good job recruiting as is. But you ride the wave of momentum coming off of what this season has the potential to be over these next couple weeks, and you're going to continue to be able to reel on some of that top talent, which, again, they've already done a good job of and can do that better too.
I agree. I personally think if, Beamer is riding the recruiting guru of what Steve Spurrier was able to do for so many years in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I feel like he's picked up right where he left off. Yes, it was kind of a dead period with Will Muschamp, knowing he did bring in some good talent as well, not to discredit him, but it feels like we're having a hangover of Spurrier energy from Beamer from what we're seeing right now.
Come back, wrap up hour number 2 of the Extra Point. Get more of Jalen Tart and learning more about him. He's going to be hanging out with me each and every Wednesday going forward. It is the Extra Point, Tyler Head, along with you on your Wednesday morning here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
This is Boomer Science with Sportsman Aid, sponsored by AutoZone. Get the zone. AutoZone. Detroit's Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown battery earned game balls along with Saquon Barkley and Jonnu Smith. On defense, Minnesota's Andrew Van Ginkel and Indy's Kwity Paye were defensive standouts. And Taysom Hill, all he did was earn a special achievement game ball because he had 138 rushing yards, 50 receiving yards, 18 passing yards, 42 kick return yards, and 3 touchdowns. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-583-5795.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
With tens of thousands of satisfied patients across America, it's no surprise QC Kinetics gets 5-star reviews.
I'm feeling on top of the world because of QC Kinetics.
I'm able to do the things that I wasn't able to do for a long time.
I can recommend them highly. I would recommend QC to anybody.
QC Kinetics has changed my life.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
Real people with real lasting relief from joint pain.
QC Kinetics Regenerative Medicine is regenerating me.
It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
This non-surgical approach is definitely the future.
I tell as many people as possible. I am an ambassador. I love QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. No drugs, no surgery. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
803-281-6860.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the...
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your...
windshield wipers. eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying... just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head, Jalen Tart from WIS hanging out here on your Wednesday. Reminder, as Carolina takes on Wofford this weekend, the Laura Lisa Special Teams Contest rolls on to another week. $1,100 up for grabs if the Gamecocks can score a special teams touchdown. Go online to 1075thegame.com and register for your chance to win if you've not done so already for the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Again, a couple more minutes here with Jalen Tart, who again is going to be hanging out with me on Wednesdays here going forward to get his thoughts on what's going on around the world of sports. As, again, you've been ingrained with the Columbia scene for a very long time. And, you know, bringing you in today was a lot of introducing people to you, familiarizing people as you're going to be, again, hanging out on Wednesdays going forward. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that have heard your name this morning and be like, where do I know that guy from outside of just being on the news?
Yeah.
About a year ago, there was a viral video of you that a lot of people may be really familiar with.
And Tyler, I get this every other day that I'm out.
I'm sure you do.
And the question that I get, was it really good? So for people that may not know, I was a reporter for WIS for a year and 4 months. And within that year, the first year, the fair comes around every October. I volunteered to cover the fair. I did not eat at all. I was very hungry, and I was just like, let me get me something that's near, because I had a live hit at like 5 minutes, so I didn't want to walk far. So I go to this nearby stand, and the guy asked me, do you want a Polish dog? Do you want an Italian dog? Everything that I eat here is Italian, so there's no Polish things here. So I'm like, okay, let me get a Polish. I just wanted to try a Polish dog. Went on air, I had it, and everyone knows what happened. If you did not know, just go on YouTube and just type in Jalen Tart hot dog, or go on TikTok and type in Jalen Tart hot dog. 60 million views 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
It blew up. I think a lot of people also enjoyed Judy's reaction in studio to it. She gave you that look.
Yeah. I didn't see the reaction until I got back to the station, and then when I saw it, I was just like, this is going to go one or two ways.
Right.
It's either going to go bad or it's either going to go viral. And I got a text. Well, I went the next day to try more foods, and the guy that gave me the food, the hot dog, was not there for the rest of the fair. So it was just like, okay. And then ever since then, I've been getting, you the guy with the hot dog. You the guy that was at the fair, right? And they just die laughing, and people get pictures with me, and it was cool. I think going viral, I didn't prepare for it. I didn't expect that at all.
It just happens.
Shannon Sharp messaged me.
Really?
Yeah, he messaged me.
What did he say?
His team did on his behalf and was asked for my video, and then next thing you know, I see it on Nightcap the next day, okay? And then on my Instagram, while I'm blowing up, Sherry Shepard tagged me. And my grandmother called me like 30 minutes later, like, you was on the Sherry Shepard show. I was just like, whoa, okay. So it was cool. It was really cool, but I was not prepared.
Well, and that's the thing about going viral is the craziest things end up out there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you're not the only reporter to have eaten something on the air that ended up looking a little bit funny, but for whatever reason, it just ended up kind of taken on. I think I saw it on TikTok for the first time, just I guess because local algorithm.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of blew up from there. So was the Shannon Sharpe thing like the craziest place you saw it?
I saw that at work, and I literally fell to my knees because I watched Shannon Sharpe even before First Take. I've been watching Shannon Sharpe since he was at the desk for CBS Network for NFL Sunday.
He's great.
Yes, and his brother played here.
That's right.
So it's just wow.
Let's see. Maybe we can leverage and get Shannon on the show sometime. That'd be cool. But hey, man, I was the hot dog guy.
Yep.
Oh man, that's awesome. And again, that's when I'm introducing you earlier, I'm like, there's probably a lot of people that Jalen, I've heard that name before. Why does that ring a bell? There's a very good chance that's why it rung a bell.
Yeah. And honestly, and if for people that's getting to know me as well, I went to South Carolina State University for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Every homecoming this year, a lot of people were asking me about it. And all I can say was it wasn't really that appetizing, even though it did look appetizing. It just...
What was it about the dog that you weren't expecting?
The meat.
The meat
was kind of weird. I was just like, it had no taste.
Yeah.
I was expecting the onions and the peppers on it when I ate it. That's what it had.
Sure.
I thought it was going to give it a little more of a boost. It failed. That's all I'll say. It failed.
Well, I guess you learned your lesson on that one, unfortunately. By the way, shout out to South Carolina State, MEAC.
Yes.
We're going to the MEAC.
Going to Celebration Bowl.
Game. Celebration Bowl coming up here in a couple weeks. Our guy, Preston Thorne, on the morning show, got a couple friends on that coaching staff down there, so he always kind of keeps us updated. So
cool.
Shout out to them, man.
Cool. I didn't know what to expect with Shennis Berry coming in, but the way that he's turned that offense around, because historically SC State is known for their defense.
Right.
So to see their offense play the way that they're playing, phenomenal job by Shennis Berry.
Yeah, just a lot of great football going on in the state of South Carolina right now. Carolina, obviously Clemson ranked. What's going on at SC State? Coastal's had their run for these past couple years. It's exciting times at Palmetto State. That's for sure.
Right.
Well, again, Jalen, appreciate you hanging out today. We'll get you in here each and every Wednesday. We'll dive into more specifics of things coming up, but a good chance to introduce you to the crowd for, again, the people that I knew would be familiar with you, but just kind of reminding them of who you are a little bit here.
I appreciate the opportunity, and it's an honor to be here and to talk sports with you, Tyler.
Man, it's an exciting time, and again, this time next week, we'll be talking about going into the Clemson game.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about, obviously, what's going to happen with men's and women's basketball, men's team in action tomorrow, taking on Mercer. You're coming in at the perfect time, I feel like.
I appreciate that, and it's a November, December is like a good time to be a sports fan.
Absolutely. That'll do it for today's edition of The Extra Point. He is Jalen Tart from WIS. He'll be back in here coming up next Wednesday. Coming up next, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Myself and Wes Mitchell as your Wednesday rolls along here on The Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, the credit card bill came and we're maxed out.
Great. Maxed out cards, rent is due, bills are piling up. We just need some extra cash to help us get by for a few weeks.
We should do what my brother did. He went to billshappen.com and got $3,000 the next day.
With our bad credit, I don't think so.
Billshappen.com is different. They are one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types get up to $5,000.
I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Nope, my brother said it was easy. He did it right from his phone.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000 in minutes, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. Billshappen.com's lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history.
Great news! I went to billshappen.com, and we will have our money as soon as tomorrow.
Wow, that is fast.
If you need extra cash, go to billshappen.com. That's billshappen.com. Billshappen.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
Hi,
Hi, this is Chastity from the Guttermen. Have the fall leaves clogged your gutters? The pros at the Guttermen can keep the clutter out of your gutter and your downspouts. Look for our guys in the powder blue trucks. Call me at 803-791-7147 or visit us online at theguttermen.com.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the Guttermen.
Fall is just around the corner. That means phenomenal weather and getting out to your favorite golf course here in the Midlands. Charwood Golf Club, where Rock and Daniel Lucas have an incredible layout and create a fun, relaxed environment each time you head out to the course. So give them a phone call today and line up that tee time, 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. Go find out about one of the Midlands' hidden golf gyms. That's Charwood Golf Club. Get out there today and schedule an appointment, 803-755-2000.
Quietest dishwasher in the land.
Like a Bosch.
Dishes drier than the desert sand.
Like a Bosch.
Wash the dishes like a Bosch.
Clean like a Bosch. Check out the selection of Bosch dishwashers at the Nest in the Vista.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
Did you wake up with joint pain today? I did. It doesn't matter whether it's old injuries or simply getting old. Or have they told you that it's time for a knee or hip replacement? Hey, it's Preston Thorne. Stop what you're doing and listen. You deserve a life of comfort and ease with no surgery and no meds. And QC Kinetics can get you there. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative cellular treatments for joint pain. This is an all-natural approach that harnesses your body's own healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain. And everybody's talking about it. So don't wait. You can have real, lasting relief from chronic joint pain without drugs, without surgery, and without downtime. So discover your options with advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. A consultation is absolutely free. Don't forget, you can use those HSA and FSA funds towards your treatment, especially if you have funds that are getting ready to expire. Call 803-281-6860. 803-281-6860.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
This is Tony Annan, head men's soccer coach at the University of South Carolina. You're listening to 107.5 The Game, home of the Gamecocks.
A Cumulus media station.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
With Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head.
on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
On 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5
The Game in Florence.
You give me that funny feeling in my tummy.
11 o'clock on your Wednesday morning now. Welcome in. His Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes along with me today. Chris doing some family things. We'll allow him a day of leave. He'll be back in with us tomorrow as we'll get you set for Gamecocks and Wofford coming up this weekend. I was talking about this with Jalen in the last segment there. What an exciting time in Gamecock sports, Wes. You have obviously women's basketball still on their undefeated run. Men's basketball looking to get back to the tournament. Gamecocks ranked in the college football playoff top 25 once again, which we'll get into a little bit. And, of course, some Gamecock women's soccer moving on in the NCAA tournament as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And we are excited to continue to talk about that here in a second. And I think it's always good when just your fan base has multiple options in terms of postseason play. Like that's the goal for everybody, is to get there. And then once you get there, you obviously have a shot to make a run. And this South Carolina women's soccer team, like we talked about last week when we talked to Coach, is playing very, very well right now.
And it's time to check in once again with head coach of Gamecock women's soccer, Shelly Smith, joining us on the Love Chevrolet phone lines. Coach, first of all, thank you once again for taking your time, and congratulations on the dominant 6-0 win over East Carolina in the first-round matchup on Friday. I know the goal going into every game is to win. Did you see that kind of performance coming for your team?
Glad to be on, Wes and Tyler. Thank you for having me, and glad to be sitting here talking about such a great victory for sure. No, I didn't anticipate that kind of goal scoring, but it's always I'll take it. It's always nice to see that, and it was a dominating performance, and I knew our players were excited to play, and they showed it, and I'm glad they were rewarded with some tremendous goals.
Yeah, Coach, you had your stars were shining bright in this one. Katie Shea Collins, of course, phenomenal freshman with a hat trick. Kat Berry, 2 goals, including the program record. Even Taylor Fox scores a goal as well. Can you just maybe take us through how the game played out through your eyes a little bit?
Yeah, it was kind of a dream for the team, honestly, to finish that way at Stone Stadium. This is a group that has a lot of seniors. We had 5 fifth-year seniors come back. They had that extra year from COVID. And this is the last class, and they just showed their loyalty and their passion for being a part of this program and this university. And what an amazing way to finish it, again, at Stone Stadium. And, Katie Shea's an addition that has obviously brought so much to the program already, and she and Kat Berry, who's a fifth-year senior, have really shown what a kind of duo they can be. They've become more of a threat every game, and they showed that night. But the end of the game, we're up, and our backup goalkeeper, Taylor Fox, went in. 10 minutes to go, and 2 minutes later, a penalty kick was called, and she came through and asked to take it, and we're like, oh, yes, you go. She's one of our better, actually, shooters. And so she went up there and scored her first goal. And she, goalkeepers always beg to get on the field and be a forward at times, and so it was kind of a dream for her to get up there and be able to score a goal. So I was thrilled. Our whole team was, in tears after just to see that moment and to continue to win in the NCAA tournament.
Coach, you mentioned your fifth-year girls, and I wanted to maybe expand on that a little bit, kind of just big picture. What does it mean, not just to your program, but even maybe to you and Jamie personally, that in this era where transfer portal is such an easy option for anybody who wants to go out there and see what else might exist, and obviously NIL is a factor, and there may be other options. I got to imagine, if Kat Berry would have said, hey, I'm going to go see what's out there in the portal, there's going to be a lot of interest in a player like her. So what did it mean to you and Jamie and just the entire staff there that there was that loyalty, that trust with you all to stick throughout an entire career for those girls?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head with the fact that I always thought about that. These kids could have gone anywhere. When you see a player coming from our program, they're going to get interest, and Kat is definitely one that could have gone in and really played anywhere. And these kids came to us at the end of their senior year and said, no, we can't imagine playing anywhere else. We want to play here. It means so much to Jamie and I. And, in this day and age of college athletics, it's coming harder and harder to see that loyalty. And I'm really proud of this group. And they were great. They've been great role models to the whole team. We have a lot of players that want to play here and stick around and give their all for the program. They love the team, and it means a lot to us to be able to do that. Now there's a lot of changes coming down the line, as you guys may have discussed, with roster caps and all that. But so it's putting coaches in a tough position. But we've always built our program on building players and keeping players in the program and showing the loyalty to them and then them to us in return. And it's been a special year. And I hope they can go all the way to the championship. They deserve it, but I know they'll leave it all out there on the field every round here in NCAA.
Again, talking to head coach of women's soccer for South Carolina, Shelly Smith, discussing her team in the NCAA tournament. And of course, we've talked every time we've had you on here about Katie Shea Collins and the impressive freshman season she's had. But leading up into Friday's game, she's been on a little bit of a cold stretch. How much did she learn from that period, and what was the reason she had so much success Friday against Eastern Carolina?
Well, goal scorers have droughts, and it just happens, especially when you gain so much attention. Every team was focusing on her. And that's always happened to Kat as well. And I think you just have to find other ways to contribute, and she did that. She'd continue to threaten the back line with her pace and be someone they'd have to worry about, and free someone else up to score goals or create other opportunities. So even though she's not on the stat line, Katie Shea and both Kat do that a lot for the team to create other opportunities. And so that's an important piece in your offense. And you got to learn that you're not always going to score, and it does get a little bit frustrating, but as long as you're doing everything you can, it's what you want to focus on. How can I contribute? How can I help the team, even though I may not be the one putting the ball in the back of the net? So that's been her role, and she did great. Now against ECU, our league, the SEC, prepares us well, and they'd have been playing some really strong teams. ECU probably wasn't quite as strong as the teams we had faced just coming off the SEC tournament. And we took advantage, and it showed what Katie Shea has done to grow and realize how to score goals against competition.
Coach, can you talk to us a little bit about Minnesota? For those listening out there, coming up in a couple of days, November 22nd, 2 p.m., game will be in Chapel Hill. You can also watch it ESPN Plus. An opponent here that there's not really a ton of just, recent history. You would say last time Minnesota and South Carolina played in women's soccer back in 2012. So no just recent history between the two. What can you tell us about just what you've seen so far in your film review of Minnesota?
Yeah, they're a good team. They deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. They've had a great year. I think it's been since 2018 that this program, the Minnesota program, had been in the NCAA tournament. So again, we're facing a team that hasn't been there in a while, but we know how excited teams are to have that opportunity. So we've got to be ready. They've had a tremendous year. Their coach is a newer coach in the last few years and has done a great job. So she's brought them to a level that they're competing in the Big Ten and had some top 15 wins this year, and that put them in as a at-large bid. So this is not a conference winner. This is someone that showed a strong enough schedule and enough results to be added to the tournament, and out of the 33 that get put in as at-large bid. So we know we'll have our hands full with them. They have some great front runners that have created scoring opportunities all year. They have one of the leading goal scorers, point producers in the country right now. So we'll be watching for that, and it should be a good battle between our forwards that have been tremendous this season, and then their team that has created a lot of chances as well.
Coach, you mentioned it there, Kaya Harper from Minnesota in the top 10 scoring, much like Kat Berry is. For your squad, how much of a challenge is she going to present? And from a purely just entertainment standpoint, how fun is it going to be watching two of the best goal scorers in the country on the field at the same time?
Well, I hope it's not fun for the Minnesota fans so much, but we've faced top quality attackers all year. We're not, it's something to be concerned about, and we'll be focusing on a player like her. But I have confidence in what our defense has done all year. The midfield that plays in front of the back four, they've done a great job to shut down even threats before it even gets up top. So it's something we're going to have a very good coordinated defensive effort like we normally do, and when we do that, it's hard to break us down, and then it gives us some chances to go for it. So I'm hoping that we can create some more chances than they do, obviously, but it should be a great battle against two top opponents, and that's what's happening in the NCAA tournament, especially in the second round, third round, and so forth. You're seeing who's left, and with only 32 teams left is what you're going to face with some of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I was going to say, Coach, at this point, I got to imagine no matter what the matchup, everybody left has done something right. They've got to be a pretty good team at this point and have to have played well. We talked last time we had you on about you all just kind of playing your best down the stretch, and obviously now have won 3 of 4. 3 of those were kind of convincing fashion. The only loss, a really tight matchup with Texas that you all played well in, too. What have you just seen in this team down the stretch, and is there any maybe just key points that you are harping on to your girls leading into this final stretch of the year and hopefully, being able to put yourself in a spot to play a few more games here?
Yeah, it's definitely been a consistency factor for us. We started out and we were really trying to figure out the best combinations of players and what we're going to get game to game. And as we grew throughout the season, you just continue to get better performances from all the individuals playing together. And that's what we've seen, and that's why we've had a good run here towards the end of the season. And it takes that kind of just working together and that drive. They know, like I said, when you have a lot of seniors in the team, they are getting closer and closer to they know where they not be able to play college soccer anymore. And so it's really important to them, and they've been just doing such a great job to lead the team, stay motivated, stay together, and be a group to worry about. They want to be playing. I think that makes a huge difference this time of year. You see some teams get tired, or they've been beaten down, and our group has really stayed the course, and knock on wood, we're as healthy as you can be this time of year. And they have the energy and the passion to keep going. And if you have that kind of competitiveness, you can make a good run.
Well, Coach, as always, want to wish you guys the best of luck again. And that's games against Minnesota coming up on Friday, 2 o'clock up in Chapel Hill. You can watch it on ESPN+. And certainly looking forward to speaking to you next week. And hopefully we're talking about yet another game upcoming then as well.
That sounds like a great plan. Thank you.
Again, head coach Shelly Smith, the Gamecocks women's soccer, again taking on Minnesota coming up on Friday. Last night, the latest college ball playoff top 25 rankings were revealed. Carolina did move up. How far and what does that mean for their playoff chances? Coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs, Tower and West, here on your Wednesday on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, y'all, you know it. It's our friends over at Classic Roofing. We tell you about them every single week, and we want to make sure you got your roof taken care of. It's our friends over at Classic Roofing, also at classicroofingsc.com, phone number 803-590-7870. For more information, just go to that website. We know taking good care of your roof can be challenging. You do not have to do it alone. They've got years of expertise under their hats at Classic Roofing, and they are the go-to residential and commercial roofing company for home and business owners here in Columbia, South Carolina, and the surrounding areas. Of course, if you own a home or business, that roof is, it's your protection. It is one of the most important parts of your home or business. So you got to make sure that it is handled, and let them come out, do a free estimate, and let you know, one, am I in good shape here? How much life do I have left on this roof? And are there any changes I need to make right now? Again, classicroofingsc.com or 803-590-7870.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, the credit card bill came and we're maxed out.
Great. Maxed out cards, rent is due, bills are piling up. We just need some extra cash to help us get by for a few weeks.
We should do what my brother did. He went to billshappen.com and got $3,000 the next day.
With our bad credit, I don't think so.
Billshappen.com is different. They are one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types get up to $5,000.
I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Nope, my brother said it was easy. He did it right from his phone.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000 in minutes, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. Billshappen.com's lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history.
Great news! I went to billshappen.com, and we will have our money as soon as tomorrow.
Wow, that is fast.
If you need extra cash, go to billshappen.com. That's billshappen.com. Billshappen.com.
The Gamecock Go Pass is back. For only $20 a month, you'll receive access to all non-conference football games, most men's and women's basketball and baseball games, and all softball, soccer, and volleyball games. To learn more about the Gamecock Go Pass, visit thegamecockclub.com/go.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Traditions Fine Jewelers here with a reminder that Christmas is coming, and they have gifts for everyone you love at prices that won't break the bank. This year's hottest item will definitely be diamond studs, and Traditions Fine Jewelers are stocked to the ceiling with incredible values, starting with quarter-carat total weights set in sterling silver, just $99. Or how about half-carat total weights for just $199? You can also choose 1-carat total weights set in 14-carat white or yellow gold, just $5.99. Or how about 2-carat total weights set in 14-karat gold, just $9.99. And finally, if you really want to get the ultimate gift, 4-carat total weights, just $19.99. Yes, you heard right. That's a 2-carat diamond in each ear for just $19.99. So if this is the year you want to give her something special, come see Traditions Fine Jewelers and make her Christmas dreams come true. 2 convenient locations on Sunset in Lexington and next to the fountain at Sandhills. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
Get ready to smile because Herndon Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy dealer, is offering an amazing deal right now. Get up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Yes, you heard that right. Up to $20,000 off. Don't wait. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Chevy, together let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes along with you here on your Wednesday on the game. Of course, last night the latest college ball playoff top 25 poll was released with 2 weeks to go in the regular season. Carolina makes the jump from 21 up to number 18 after defeating a still number 23 Missouri at this point in time, as they have cracked the top 20 for the first time in a couple years. 1 spot behind Clemson, who, of course, they have coming up next weekend. Wes, I said this a little bit earlier. I feel like sitting at 18 with 2 weeks to go and one of your games remaining as an FCS opponent in Wofford, outside of mass chaos, I don't see the path to the playoff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about where we thought, though. I mean, we knew it was going to take chaos, right?
Sure.
Like,
I thought if maybe they slid to like 16 or 17, then maybe like, okay, that's a little more a feasible path. But jumping essentially 8 spots, because Tennessee's on the outside looking at 11 now, so around 7 to 8 spots. That's a lot to ask in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and well, being 17 at this point is the same as being 18 because you play the team that's 17.
True.
So what's the difference at that point? And there's been some talk, some discussion. The chair of the committee was even asked, like, hey, why Clemson over South Carolina right now? To me, completely meaningless discussion at this point, because if you're South Carolina, you are going to Clemson in 2 weeks. So if you beat them, you will beat them on their home field.
Yeah, it's going to resolve itself.
It will be an end-of-year thing. This is not that was 12 weeks ago. So by all intents and purposes, the 2 teams are even. And we will decide that one on the field. But I think the committee has a really tough job. Like, I feel like the college football playoff and kind of how you feel about it almost should be did you tell us one time you did debate in high school, or who was that?
That was not me.
Okay, not you. I feel like somebody did.
Think I'd be good at that?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like this would be a great topic for a debate team, because you can sit there and pick either side and actually come up with some valid arguments for why one thing should be this way, one thing should be that way. And we also have to remember, so I think some people sit there and they go, well, hey, right now, Boise State would be a 4 seed.
Correct.
And have a bye.
Right.
And I think that's kind of jarring to see that. But then you're also like, that's what I won't say we all signed up for, but that is what was decided on. Like, this is not, they didn't come up with this 2 weeks ago. This is what was decided. Like, I think when this was put together, a lot of us, I mean, I believe I was in this category. I think most people, in theory, want to reward conference championships.
Sure.
And this is a way to do it in that, hey, you're automatically going to get in. If you're one of the top 5 conference champions, you're going to get a bye. You're going to make it matter to be a conference champion. And I think in theory, we all like that idea. But now when we see it play out in reality, and especially down here in the South, we're like, well, wait a second. Is that other conference's champion even better than the 5th SEC team, the 6th SEC? So, I mean, I thought that a pretty good point among some just not very good points made on ESPN last night was we sit here, we get called into comparing SEC schools to other SEC schools and like, well, hey, the SEC is only going to get 4 or 5 spots. What does that look like? Compare them to each other. But what happens when you compare the 5th or 6th SEC school to a different conference? You know, like then maybe the conversation changes, but the committee has a little bit of a built-in ceiling, I feel like, on the number of SEC teams that will actually get in.
They do, and one thing that benefits the SEC this year, and I've said this already, that I think the rankings of Miami, SMU, as well as Miami, SMU, as well as the Big 12 teams still in the mix are pretty irrelevant at this point because it seems like those 2 leagues are only going to get one team in, that being their conference champion. Their losers of the conference championship game is going to be on the outside looking in. Whether you believe that should happen or not, that seems to be the way that we're going with this, which gives the SEC and the Big 10 more opportunity to get more teams in. Now, where that line draws at, 4 or 5, I don't know. Tennessee is, as of right now, the way the brackets work out, on the outside looking in. But let's say, okay, what if Indiana does lose this weekend to Ohio State? How far do they tumble? You know, if Miami does lose the championship game, is that the chance for Tennessee to jump ahead of them? Which, again, I think they'd be out regardless there. It's so, and the fact that we don't have anything to base this off of, because, right, when we go back through the past 10 years before this, we say, okay, well, in a previous year of the 14 playoff, they said this, or here's their criteria for dealing with this situation. We don't have that. We can kind of circumvent an idea of what we think it's going to be, but we don't have any definitive answers because we've never been in this position before. And I agree with you. I think the committee does have a tough job, more critical, and rightfully so, because some of their things they do throughout there contradict themselves. But at the same time, I think we all should have expected it to be more complicated when you triple the amount of teams in your playoff from what you've had for the past 10 years. I think making a progression from like 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 would have been maybe an easier step, then go to 12, then go to 16 or whatever it may be. But suddenly just tripling the field, that's a huge shakeup for what I've always believed to be a system that once you get past really 8 in the 14 playoff, didn't really matter a whole lot. Because if you were 12th with 2 weeks to go and you're sitting at 8-2, well, there was nowhere you're going to get anyway. So they didn't really have to split hairs on who was 12 and who was 13. Now they do, because it does matter at the end of the day.
It does matter, and I think a lot of us, or my thought was like, all right, well, if it used to be you had to be in the top 2, right? Yes. So my thought was like, well, hey, if you can't be among the top 12, then you just didn't deserve to go. That was my thought, like back then. Well, hey, this accomplishes a lot in terms of there were some teams legitimately they were like 3rd or 4th or 5th a given year that really could have won the title against the team that ended up winning it.
Sure.
And you know, so my thought was like, all right, if now we're talking about 10, now 12 teams, who really has an argument? Well, the interesting thing about the college football playoff right now is that we are going to 12 in a time when we have an all-time amount of parity. So
yeah,
when everything was sort of jumbled towards the very top, you were splitting hairs between who's 2nd and who's 3rd, or who's 3rd and who's 4th. And you're probably saying the 12th team would have to have a ton go their way to maybe beat one of these top 2-3 teams. But now, I mean, I think there are teams that are in that 10 range that could get hot, have things go their way, and could easily win the thing. So you have a lot of parity, which I think is kind of fascinating that it's all happening at the same time. You've expanded the college football playoff while we've got the NIL factors and the transfer portal factors that play into the amount of parity you have in college football right now. I mean, I just wonder, like right now, if you're a Carolina fan, it does, to your point, it looks daunting. Mm-hmm. Like you're like, that's got to happen, this got to happen. Let's see what happens this week. Are there some major upsets this week as the pressure mounts that makes the path just a little bit more manageable for South Carolina? And at what point does the fact that if, obviously assuming you're going to win and win big this week, and then you beat Clemson at Clemson, what team in the country at that point is hotter than South Carolina? How much does the consistency that you've shown over that, 6-week span, how much does that matter to the committee? How much does, looking back, 2 of your losses were incredibly tight.
Sure.
And with controversy, and without your starting quarterback for the second half of one of them.
That is the debate on how the committee looks at these things. We'll get to some of Ward Manuel's thoughts coming up here in a minute, because I think it should matter a lot about how you're playing at the current time, but you shouldn't also disregard what happened earlier in the season as well, because if you lose a game back in September, that's still a loss. I look at Notre Dame, who's yet to be punished really for losing to NIU back in the second week of the regular season. I know a lot of football has been played since then, but I don't think they're being dinged enough for having that ugly loss to a 500 MAC team. But at the same time, again, Carolina, like you said, is maybe playing the best football out of anybody right now in terms of surging towards the end of the season, have a chance to end on a 6-game winning streak, and obviously, you get to a potential 10th win in whatever your first postseason game would be, assuming that you win it. So it's complicated. It's a lot, and I don't envy the job those people in the committee room have, because, like you said, you can poke holes in just about anything, while they can also defend just about any decision they make with one or several data points that they have.
Well, and I think it's easy to point out contradictions, but there's actually no true way to list the teams without there being contradictions, because you have if you just say, well, hey, flip those two teams, you've created a new set of contradictions, right?
Yeah.
Because you can easily sit here and go, well, this team beat that team, but that team lost to Team C, who beat Team A. And so you have these sort of circular arguments that get introduced, especially when you're trying to compare SEC schools. And so, Georgia is behind Alabama. Or excuse me, I'm confusing myself at this point. Alabama beat Georgia.
Yes.
So, you could say, well, they deserve to be ahead of Georgia. But Georgia probably has better wins than Alabama. Who is Alabama's marquee wins at this point?
And that's why we sit here and debate this all season long. We'll get some Ward Manuel's thoughts coming up next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes on your Wednesday here in the game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Everyone wants you to pay for their streaming app. You gotta have this one, you gotta have that one. Well, not us, here at The Game. Why? Because we love you more than they do. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app for free.
All right, y'all, let me tell you about our friends over at Krantz Cooling. That is Krantz with a K, cooling with a K. Head on over right now to KrantzCooling.com, or you can just give them a call, 803-672-3224. Obviously, temperatures are getting cooler, and you want to make sure that your home is warm and that your home is being efficiently heated. So one of the things we want to tell you about is the preventative maintenance that Krantz Cooling can provide for you. Krantz Cooling and Heating, since 1983, family-owned business. And go ahead, have them come out and check out your current system. Make sure it is running at peak condition. Of course, we hope you never need to call them for an emergency, but if you have an emergency, again, that phone number, 803-672-3224, whether that is air conditioner repair or installation, heating repair or installation. Again, like I said, preventative maintenance. Chris has told you about ductless AC. Any and all that, they can handle it at Grant's Cooling.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns, here today with my 2 sons.
Hey, I'm Blake Romanstein. Midlands Landscape and Lawns is a family-owned business rooted right here in the Midlands for over 30 years.
And I'm Braden Romanstein. We're not just local, we're your neighbors, and we're going to take care of you like you live next door.
From residential landscaping to hardscape design and installation to maintenance and everything in between. Call or visit Midlands Landscape and Lawns today at midlandslandscape.com.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, the credit card bill came and we're maxed out.
Great! Maxed out cards, rent is due, bills are piling up. We just need some extra cash to help us get by for a few weeks.
We should do what my brother did. He went to billshappen.com and got $3,000 the next day.
With our bad credit, I don't think so.
Billshappen.com is different. They are one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types get up to $5,000.
I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Nope, my brother said it was easy. He did it right from his phone.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000 in minutes, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. Billshappen.com's lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history.
Great news! I went to billshappen.com, and we will have our money as soon as tomorrow.
Wow, that is fast.
If you need extra cash, go to billshappen.com. That's billshappen.com. Billshappen.com.
More or less? That is the question, and that is the only one you need to answer for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. What's up? It's Elijah Campbell from 107.5 The Game, here to tell you about my friends at Prize Picks. It's not just America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It's my favorite daily fantasy sports app, and all you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. I'm having an absolute blast playing Prize Picks this year with football, basketball, hockey, all of these sports that are in season right now. You can cash in on your sports knowledge with Prize Picks in this football season. I'm telling you, Jalen Hurts, more rushing yards and more touchdowns has been an absolute cheat code. Was great for me last week. I'm doing it again here this next week. And you can join me as well. Just download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME. And you can get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, promo code 1075GAME for $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On The Game Network.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes along with you on your Wednesday. Reminder, the new craft beer card has arrived at only $59. Saves you around $300 here locally with craft beer. Go online to 1075game.com. Click on the Sweet Deals tab to purchase the brand new craft beer card if you've not done so already. Continuing our conversation about the college football playoff rankings that came out last night. Ward Manuel, the AD at Michigan and the chair of the College Ball Playoff Committee, joins Reese Davis during every selection show to give the latest insight on why the committee made the decisions that they made for that given week. And one question that Reese Davis posed to him last night was one that's been a hot-button topic around college football this week. We talked about it yesterday coming off of Lane Kiffin's comments, was how does the committee plan to view teams that make conference championship games?
Well, we have a lot of value. Well, we have a lot of value. You know, we're not going to speculate on what will happen, but we have a lot of value of with the teams that make a championship game. That says a lot. Playing 12 games in the season, making your championship game is a really valuable data point. Number one. Number two, we're going to evaluate the games and how teams play and the performance on the field. That's what the commissioners have asked us to do. They didn't ask us to stop right before the championship game. They asked us to rank the teams through the championship game. And I think you could see over the years how the committee has valued those championship games and who stays in and where they're ranked. But this year, we're not going to speculate. We're going to let the season play out. But I think teams who make that championship game, the committee looks at them and puts them in high esteem.
That sounds like a good answer, right? And whoever's the chair of the committee gives you basically nothing for 40 seconds anytime they answer a question. In my opinion, if you make a championship game, you should not be penalized for having an extra data point, an extra game that you've earned your right to be in as being a deterrent for you making the playoff if you lose that game. However, I just have a feeling that's what we're going to get. Now, I think the SEC and the Big Ten make the most compelling arguments for having both teams in. But like I said, I think it's very clear that in the ACC, Miami, SMU, likely going to be playing for that championship. And right now, it looks like maybe BYU and Colorado playing, if things continue the way that they've been in the Big 12, are playing for one spot. And there's no chance that second team gets in. Now, again, the Big 12, all their guys are ranked outside the top 12 as of right now. But if Miami loses as the number 8 team in the ACC championship game, again, I think that's going to drop them out. But the question of should that is up for debate.
Well, I think, is there also not a difference in, let's say, losing a conference championship? Let's say in theory it should not drop you out, right?
Right.
But that line of thinking also has to assume that you were in before you played in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not every team that's playing in a conference championship is necessarily done enough already to be in.
Right.
Like, I think, I certainly think if they feel like you are a playoff team before the championship, which the thing about this stuff now is we have that information because they're putting it out every week, which I do think is great for the game. It's great for radio. It's great for discussion. I don't know if it's great actually for the teams because then you do have, well, hey, we did enough last week, but what did we do wrong this week? And so it does introduce contradictions a little bit more, but I think there are some teams that sit there and they need a win in the championship game for you to say they have a good enough resume. The teams that would really have an argument would be a team that you felt like was in prior to going to that game, and then you use that loss data point as the reason for them now being out.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Like what happens to a Texas or a Texas A&M, depending on who goes, if now they have that extra loss from the SEC championship game? But like a lot of people are saying Texas, who, if you just look at the graphics right now,
sure,
you would say Texas is firmly, easily in, even though the percentages, when they plug it into the computer and they show, hey, this team is definitely in, they're in the 90%, 90% plus.
Yep.
But there are people saying because they've played such a light SEC schedule, if they start stacking losses here, they're going to be in trouble. And so, you know, what if a Texas A&M beats Texas, goes to the championship game, but then they get their third loss, and then you're comparing a team that got their third loss because of playing in a championship game, but then let's make it local here. Now you have a 3-loss A&M, a 3-loss South Carolina, and South Carolina can be like, well, we beat them by double digits.
Yeah.
But they're saying, well, hey, we played in a title game.
A&M is the most intriguing part here because next weekend they're going to play Texas for the right to go to Atlanta, assuming both teams win their game this upcoming weekend. Well, like you said, they win that. That means they're going to Atlanta and I got to look back at tiebreakers. I don't know if they played Texas again or playing Alabama, but let's just assume they're going to play Alabama, where, again, that's your 13th game. You're 10-2 at that point in time, probably sitting, I don't know, 10th in the ratings by beating a team ranked that high. And Texas will probably fall somewhere around the, 11, 12 mark, probably just behind A&M. A&M loses that game, your 13th game. You lose it to Alabama by, let's say, 2 touchdowns. Well, Alabama's in, we know, because they're the conference champion. Then it becomes a question of, okay, now do you drop Texas below A&M, below the team they just beat in Texas because they lost the 13th game? Like, this is where it gets really messy and really complicated. And I know it's kind of easy to say, well, if everything's just chalk from here, it's not a problem. Well, what about this entire season of college football has been chalk? Basically none of it.
It's not going to be chalk.
I mean, I'm just assuming more chaos is going to happen.
Yeah, and that's why I still think, not that Carolina's going to get in, but I think if they win the last 2, it's going to be far more interesting than maybe anybody look. Like, it's easy to look at all that has to happen, but when the pressure mounts and there's so much parity involved now, there are going to be teams that everybody says on paper, oh, that team's not going to lose to that team.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Now, can it happen multiple times
Sure.
if you're South Carolina? And the point I was trying to get to earlier, I want to complete it just because I basically screwed it up. But so Alabama, start out with them. They're 7, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
They're 7. They didn't. So I'm going SEC schools here in order. Alabama didn't play Ole Miss, so we have no problem here. Ole Miss 9.
Yep.
Ole Miss beat Georgia, so Ole Miss 9, Georgia 10. Cool.
Yep.
Georgia beat Tennessee. So Georgia 10, Tennessee 11. Cool. Well, hey, did Tennessee and Alabama play? Oh, yeah. Tennessee beat Alabama head-to-head, and they both have 2 losses. So now you circle, like,
yeah,
there are going to be no just perfect arguments. It ultimately is going to be circular.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to bring up a thought that I had a little bit earlier. I want to get your thoughts on this because I think it is interesting that Carolina is playing Wofford this weekend as opposed to maybe another conference team or a higher valued non-conference opponent. And I think that's going to hurt their case when it comes to attempting to make the playoff, even if they do have a pretty far outside shot as of right now. We'll hit that coming up next. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs, Tyler and Wes, along with you on Wednesday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network.
It's back! The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register. The pot starts at $100. Every week it increases $100 if Carolina doesn't score a special teams touchdown. But if the Gamecocks do score a special teams touchdown, you could win the pool. Again, just go to 1075thegame.com and register. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest from 1075 The Game.
This is Maggie Gray with a Sports Minute. The Jets fired their general manager yesterday, continuing the season of unmet expectations for Gang Green. Now come reports that the owner wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after Week 4 and that the team would prefer to move on from Rodgers after the season. The 4-time MVP was hailed as a savior for the franchise, and it could all be over with absolutely nothing to show for it. I'm Maggie Gray.
It's football season, and now you can get anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. Well, almost anything. You can't get a running back, but baby back ribs? Yes. Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors. Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
It's football season, and now you can get anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. Well, almost anything. You can't get a running back, but baby back ribs? Yes. Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL.
All right, guys, you know what? It's our friends over at Integrated Media. Call them today, 803-948-8327. Or head on over to integratedmediainc.com where you can get a more complete look at all the things they have done around the Midlands. You want to upgrade that smart home. You want to have them come out to your house like I did and just upgrade the Ethernet. A lot of people working from home. I've got a home office, but the internet connection just wasn't great at that point in the house. So they helped me upgrade the whole home Wi-Fi, got hardwired internet to the office, and also if you're into video games and want to upgrade that system as well, they can make sure that you're getting a great connection, hardwired connection on your internet too. Smartphone services, home theater services, anything involving audio and video at your home. Of course, TV installations or security and camera installations as well. They can do any and all of that for you at Integrated Media. Again, head on over to integratedmediainc.com for more of a look at what they've done elsewhere.
Injured in a car wreck? Need your check? It's easy. Dial 1-800-ALL-7s now.
The Anastapula Law Firm has been recovering millions for their clients for over 30 years. Whether it's a slip and fall, car accident, or any other issues that have resulted from an accident, Anastapula Law Firm can help. Their South Carolina personal injury attorneys have experience fighting for the rights of their clients. Remember, don't scream. Call Akeem. Dial 800-ALL-7s now. Herb Glass is responsible for this ad, and cases are handled at 32 Ann Street, Charleston, South Carolina 29403. Paid endorsement, not actually client. Results may vary.
Is your crawl space damp or musty? Water in your crawl space can cause wood to rot and creates an environment for mold and mildew that can make its way inside your home. Canty Foundation Specialist specializes in crawl space repair. Call us today for your free inspection so you can have the peace of mind knowing your crawl space is dry and your home is protected. Call today, 803-424-8380, or visit cantycanfixit.com.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head
on the Game Network.
Yeah, I think two things really. Just have a 1-0 mindset every week. You know, it's not the team, it's about us. And so just attack everything the same exact way. Don't change your routine. Just, you know, it's just another game. Nameless faces opponents, and that's kind of how it's been all year. So, you know, no matter who lines up, whether it's, you know, an NFL team, a high school team, either way, we got to, you know, have the same preparation, same routine, everything.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Wes along with you. On your Wednesday, that was the voice of Boogie Huntley yesterday talking to the media about not overlooking Water for this upcoming weekend. Look, all the players said the things you would expect them to say, like you said, nameless, faceless opponent. You know, not you know, make sure you treat everybody the same, and you know, don't want to get caught slipping, looking ahead to Clemson or anything like that. Okay, I get all that, and I understand why these games are played. We've had this debate before. You know, you cut a check to Wofford, Furman, all these kind of schools. SC State helps fund their program. I get why it's on the schedule. The placement of it, though, and Beamer was asked about this yesterday, and he said it's something he hadn't really thought of, so he didn't have like the most thorough answer on it at that point in time. But I question where this game sits on South Carolina's schedule this year and how much of an impact it could have if it was somebody else instead. So, again, Carolina's sitting at 18th. We think their path to playoffs is going to involve a lot of chaos regardless, because, and part of that has to do with the fact that you're playing a game this weekend that doesn't move the needle. Yes, if you lose the game, that's detrimental and you drop out of the top 25 anyway, but if you slaughtered Wofford 200-0, it doesn't really do anything, because that's what you're supposed to do against a team like that, as opposed to, as in years past, playing a Kentucky, playing an Auburn, playing a Florida. Again, they may not be the best teams in the world, like an Auburn and Mississippi State this year, but still a conference opponent. And if you beat a conference opponent by 30 points, regardless of how bad they are, that's still worth a little something compared to what Wofford is as an FCS team. And for Carolina, who needs all the help they can get right now, I really wish they were playing some kind of quality opponent this weekend to help their case out.
But they've already played those teams.
They have already played those teams, but it does matter when you play them. As let's take this scenario right here, okay? So let's say you take the Kentucky game, week number 2, big win, 31-6. Replace that with Wofford. Move Wofford to week number 2. You beat them 52-3 or something along those lines. You're playing Kentucky this weekend. Yeah, Kentucky's not a great team, but I think for the argument you're trying to make with the College Ball Playoff Committee currently sitting at number 18, that beating a Kentucky by 25 points the week before the regular season ends has the chance to help your case out a little bit more, as opposed to beating a Wofford team by 100 points this weekend.
I just don't know that there's much incentive that the committee has shown to have an even more difficult schedule. Like, not that would even be a more difficult schedule,
but
the
same schedule,
but
just
you don't
flipped.
You don't have any you don't have any say in when you play Kentucky if you're
True.
South Carolina.
Yep.
So now I think a lot of people like the fact, especially when you're talking about a South Carolina program that has not been in the hunt for a college football playoff before. Most people like the idea of having a little bit of a tune-up, a little bit of a get-right, a little bit of a get everybody healthy, respectfully, Wofford, before you play Clemson. Because for a lot of South Carolina fans, before you introduced any possibility of the CFP, beating Clemson was the most important thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Going into a season. So I think to me the committee has shown just find wins. If anything, I would schedule a lesser schedule outside of what you're just tasked with on the SEC side.
That is another interesting point as well, because being in the SEC and the Big Ten, I think it is very clear that just your conference alone props you up a lot. And I look at a team like Texas A&M, who, again, Carolina's beat, but prior to that, their only other loss was to Notre Dame, week 1 of the regular season. Quality loss at that, but let's say they played Lamar or Incarnate Word, an FCS team out of Texas, and slaughtered them by 50 points, and then your only loss is to Carolina. Well, instead of talking about A&M being on the fringe and having to win the next couple of games to get into the playoff, they'd be in the top 10 right now with a quality loss to South Carolina and saying, well, they can still lose to Texas and probably be in. So having that better out-of-conference game ended up hurting them in the grand scheme of things, actually.
Yeah, it does hurt you. Like, the way it's set up right now, if you're an SEC school, you're going to play. There's actually, now this year there is, but most years there's probably not even a huge incentive for South Carolina to play a Clemson, honestly. Like, I mean, it's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying in any way South Carolina shouldn't play Clemson. Like, all for that. But I'm saying just when you really get down to the numbers, wins are what matter. Look at Indiana. Who has Indiana actually beaten? Now, they have beaten all the teams on their schedule, and they've beaten most of them handily. But what would Indiana's record be if they played Georgia's schedule for that point? So there's no perfect way to do it. But I just got a text, by the way. I feel like if it really mattered the order right now, South Carolina would be getting more credit for winning 4 straight right now. Like, they're not getting a ton of credit for how they're playing right now anyway. So would the committee actually give them that much more credit if they were playing at Kentucky this week? If I'm Carolina, I'm enjoying the fact that you hopefully are going to take care of business this week, and then you are going to just watch as the mass chaos sets up, and then it sets up for a very important game with Clemson next week. By the way, Tyler, off the top of your head, do you know when the last time that South Carolina lost to Wofford was?
I do not. Have they ever lost to Wofford?
They have.
They have.
Do you have any guess whatsoever?
Let me spitball. 2000.
No. Wrong century.
Wrong century. 1978.
1917.
1917. Okay.
Yes.
A little off.
Last time the Gamecocks also played the game in Spartanburg. So
okay.
The
home field advantage.
Yeah. It does, by the way, make me miss our guy Tommy Moody a little bit more, because
he could have gave us a thorough breakdown of that game.
He sat right out there and gave me the entire history of South Carolina and Furman last year, to a T. And it made me, when I was looking at the Wofford, South Carolina history, it made me just think about how much of an in-depth history he could have provided for us if he was still here.
Oh, I miss Tommy all the time. Yeah, a game against Wofford and getting the history of that rivalry, I guess we could call it, would be certainly great to have. And we certainly miss him. I can't believe it's been a year since he's been gone. Certainly, we'll talk a little bit more about Wofford coming up tomorrow. See if I can track down some sound from their head coach Sean Watson as we get set for that matchup coming up this weekend. It's been the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Halftime show with myself, Terry Ford. Go next on your Wednesday here on the Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, before I hand the mic over, let me tell you about our friends over at Firehouse Subs. Of course, our presenting sponsor of the Gamecock Central Takeover. Had a great time in Newberry at that Firehouse Subs earlier this week, and we tried a little bit of everything. But, guys, if you haven't yet, if you like Thanksgiving food, you got to try the new Thanksgiving turkey sub. It was available here in Columbia last year as a test market, but now it is everywhere. It's carved turkey breast slices, dressing, cranberry sauce, and mayo, all served hot on a toasted sub roll where you can enjoy the flavors of Thanksgiving on a sub, I believe through the end of November or so. So if you want to try it, you're actually running out of time. So go ahead, check this thing out at Firehouse Subs. Easiest way to do that is by going to firehousesubs.com and hitting the Rapid Rescue button, or do what I do, download the Firehouse Subs app, and of course you're going to get points every single time you order that you can trade in later on for free food. Check them out right now. It's Firehouse Subs.
Self-care is so important, and the Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa's Black Friday BOGO gift card sale is the perfect way to treat yourself or a loved one to some well-deserved relaxation. Whether it's a massage, facial, or other spa treatment, taking time for self-care can truly make a difference in one's overall health and happiness. Purchase a gift card at guest pricing and receive a second gift card free. Don't miss this limited time offer. Discover relaxation at any of their 3 convenient locations across the Columbia area or handandstone.com to purchase online.
Offer valid at participating locations for only a limited time.